95.95.
Bundle bottles of wine and save big with Outlet Liquor's Bottle Bundle Deals. Here's the deal.
We've been living in sin so long, all the feels are gone. Fella stopped me on the street last night, said everything's alright. Roller coaster, make it through the day, I'm right. It seems your meal ticket is gone, but life goes on. I could never imagine something better. Yeah, right. Now you're cooking on high heat in the middle of the street. Roller coaster, take me to a better time. Let's go. All sing your high line with the roller coaster of life. It's time to all choose your timeline on the roller coaster of life. You seem to easily forget how to place your bet. When everyday life gets you down, you gotta steal the crown. Got to own it. Don't bitch and moan about it, please. God forbid you scrape your knees, and it's nothing to sneeze at. Oh, I've told you over and over again. You gotta get both hands around it and make your own plans. Roller coaster, it's taking over.
.550 Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update.
NFL honors are tonight as regular season awards will be handed out down in New Orleans. 3 Bills are finalists. Quarterback Josh Allen for the league MVP, safety DeMar Hamlin for comeback player of the year, and offensive coordinator Joe Brady for assistant coach of the year. The event will begin at 8 p.m. over on Fox and NFL Network, and then following the awards at 9 p.m. The 2025 NFL Hall of Fame class will be announced over on these same channels. The finalists are headlined by the likes of quarterback Eli Manning, wide receiver Steve Smith, tight end Antonio Gates, and linebacker Terrell Suggs, of course, among others. Some other notes in the NFL. Chicago Bears owner Virginia McCaskey died today at the age of 102. The daughter of team founder George Halas. She has owned the team since his death in 1983. And then for Sunday, some potential news to keep an eye on for that. Eagles All-Pro defensive tackle Jalen Carter is dealing with an illness and has now missed the last 2 practices. And defensive coordinator Vic Fangio says he is hopeful he will be able to play on Sunday. And then in college hoops, the Niagara Purple Eagles are just outside of Boston. They take on Merrimack tonight with tip-off scheduled for 7. And you can listen to that game right here on WGR. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of business. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Banter sound effect that is just the cheesiest, stupidest sounding thing. Big voice guy going, Banter goal scored by Sam Reinhart.
Been keeping it in my bathroom at the motel, feeding it old pizza.
It's Mike Schopp.
If you're calm, that wondrous big cat will be calm too. But if you're scared, that beautiful death machine will do what God made it.
Like they're in first. They've moved ahead of Toronto. I remember a conversation we had before the season. Maybe it was opening night with Paul. Like Toronto being the betting favorite.
Mm-hmm.
and one or both of you are maybe a little bit surprised. One is the defending Stanley Cup champion.
Right.
So Florida 67, Toronto 66. Ottawa.
Games in hand, Mike. Games in hand.
Games in hand. Two games in hand.
Toronto's got 2 games in hand.
Ottawa 62, Detroit 61, Tampa 60, Boston 60, Montreal 55, Buffalo 49. Yeah. Looks kind of fun up there. 67, 66, 62, 61, 60, 60.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's tight.
It's kind of fun up there.
Yeah. It's too bad we don't get to have any of the fun.
Not yet.
No, right. Maybe if they...
You need to be patient. It's only been 14 years. You need to be patient. Almost 14 years.
I
don't
have the math locked down here, but I did see a clip. Because we're doing that now, right? These video clips. I saw, perusing Twitter morning before last, I think. Maybe after they won their 4th in a row. Yeah, yesterday makes sense. And Jeremy had, I think his stat of the day was, I don't have it memorized. If they win on Saturday and then get to 10 in a row. If they get to 10 in a row.
Florida?
The Sabres.
Oh, okay.
The Sabres were to get to 10 in a row.
Okay.
Here. They would still have to climb over if everyone else plays at the same pace they've been playing at. In other words, nobody gets hot, nobody tanks.
Yep.
I don't mean tank, but you know what I mean. Gets on a slide.
Yep.
They would still have to climb past everyone. in order to get, and if they were to get to say 13 even to match the 13-game losing streak, or excuse me, winless streak from earlier this year.
Same.
They might pass 2 people. Two teams.
Your 10. I get it. I mean, your 10-game winning streak here in this scenario would be 6 from here,
right?
Because 4 are already banked, so it would be 12 points in the next 6 games to get to that'd be 61. And sure, you might only pass 1 or 2 teams in that scenario. Well, let's still root for it.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, anything can happen.
Matthew Collar.
No, it can't.
Yeah, well, Matthew Collar today, Purple Insider, he and I recorded. And he noticed how we're on YouTube now. He's like, wow.
Yeah.
And he said, he's like,
wow.
It's Bills playoff losses and the Sabres don't rally around a fallen teammate. What year is it? He's like, that's when I worked there. Gostad and Lucic, he had it right at his tip of his tongue. I mean, it could have been an old clip, but I'm like, it was from yesterday.
Yeah. I felt kind of silly. I don't have to spend a lot of time on this, but Tuesday night, Gilbert and Olivier. I talked to Paul off the air on Tuesday afternoon, and he talked to me, we talked about similar to probably what you talked with him about on pregame, big team meeting, never going to happen again, yada, yada, yada. And I said to Paul, I just hope nobody tries to dance with that guy because that guy's a murderer and I don't want any, nothing against these guys. I'd like these guys to not, get beaten to a pulp. And, Gilbert handled himself fine. I mean, that's one of the toughest dudes in the league. But what I was annoyed about was that I didn't see that coming. I did not. I'm so out of shape on them that I just did not see that coming. That would happen. And that's not to say that they choreographed the whole thing. I kind of buy Lindy's explanation. They put their tough guys out there. I don't know what they're thinking. We got pushed around last game. I want to make sure I've got at least this guy out here in case. And then Gilbert just did what Gilbert does. You want to do this? Okay, let's do this. Great. Okay.
I bet they arranged it.
I bet too. At least the guys on the ice anyway. I mean, it certainly looked like that. I mean, that's almost irrefutably true. But do you remember? I don't remember the scenario around it. I didn't Google far enough. But do you remember a guy named Dalton Smith?
Yes.
Getting called up. Something, I don't remember what. Something happened. This is 2019-20, before the pandemic, right? Before the season got shut down later that season. And something happened, and they called this guy up. And he played 1:20 total in the game, took a minor penalty trying to start a fight, and that was it. He went back to Rochester, and I don't think he's ever played another NHL game.
He has not. This was against the Lightning.
Yeah. Thinking of that, seeing what happened on Tuesday with Gilbert and Olivier, immediately sprang the memory of that, and I felt stupid for not having even thought of that. Like, of course there's going to be a fight right off the whistle of this game. I could have called it. I would have bet it if I could have bet it. I didn't think of it. I felt...
I don't even want to ask the question because it's that ridiculous. What did it accomplish? What was the point?
Nothing. I think it made the Sabres feel good. Maybe. They certainly talked like it made them feel good.
I feel like it embarrasses them further.
I agree.
Like, now we're immediately reminded of what happened on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we're going to drop the puck here, and it's a new game, and they won anyway on Sunday, so done with it. No, not yet. It reminds everybody how bad they thought it was. It's really that
right.
They thought it was bad.
And details are coming out today. Like Elliot Friedman's got, a player in the league who has a friend on the Sabres who says someone, I don't know who, my guess would be Adams or Ruff, I suppose, threatened to take letters away from guys, and like the whole leadership core of the team was in question and all this stuff. And I mean, it just sounds like it was Lucic Miller all over again. And a lot of us kind of thought that it certainly reminded you of that, but that turned into a full-on crisis for the organization when that happened, and this, I think, got handled the same way. And same result eventually, right? Gaustad fought Lucic the next time they saw one another.
Which was 3 weeks later.
Right. The Sabres aren't going to see the Devils until next season. They played twice in Europe earlier this year, and this was it for the season series, so that's over.
Until the playoffs. I know it's funny because that would require Jersey to make it.
You just took the wind right out of me with that.
They're in a playoff spot, actually.
Yeah, they are. They're pretty good. Yeah, with like their old coaches coaching our team now.
Yes. Well, maybe they will win 13 straight and make up for that losing streak. Maybe they will. They did win these games where it was bad and funny at different times.
Right.
So the Super Bowl is Sunday.
Heard about that.
And we're almost there. We're almost done with Kansas City for a while. We don't have to be subjected. A week from now, even if they win, there's a parade, and that's it. That's it for a while. We can breathe again in about a week.
Right.
If not sooner.
We'll have to get through all the post-game comments about everybody doubted them and nobody thought they could do it again and all that. And, a
big reason to root against them.
To some extent, that holds a little bit of water. I mean, some of us were in here saying they were bad this year.
Well, they were.
I'm not just referring to you. I mean, myself, too. They're going to lose their first playoff game. All that. So
I'm not budging yet.
They will go in hard on that if they get it, I'm sure. I shouldn't say I'm sure, but I would bet on it anyways.
I'm not budging yet.
I do lose a lot of bets.
Eagles, Barkley, alternate lines, Joe Ostrowski later. Forget the Chiefs for the time being. I know it's hard. They're all over us. Forget the Chiefs.
Okay.
Since the loss, it's been another round, another like last year, of how will it be different next time, or will it? Or, some would tell you that it definitely won't be, and they're probably flying their flag this time because they told you that the Bills would lose to them again. That's not just fans. That could be anybody. A lot of people probably would say that. Anyway, that's all going to have to wait if there is another playoff meeting, and I suppose I should want one because that means I'm in the playoffs. I suppose I should want one, but that all can't be settled for like 11 months or more. That has to wait. If you just forget about Kansas City, though, is there any good reason to think the Bills won't be really good again? Like, is there some reason? We've talked about this at different, like, micro position needs, or are they actually holes? This kind of thing. What's going to change? Is there any reason to really fear that it might not even come down to Kansas City next time? Like that they've peaked or something? Anything like that? Because if not, Chiefs, good on you. You're annoying.
Have your fun.
But I'll be back,
Yeah.
Is there any reason to really worry that the Bills might slide?
I wouldn't even be able to put any amount of waffling on this at all. No, I don't think there's anything at all. I'd go so far as to say, like, even if they don't, I mean, they're going to add people, but even if they don't get Myles Garrett, and their big defensive line move is to draft somebody and re-sign Gregory Rousseau, and they don't try to upgrade at corner and they re-sign Rasul Douglas, and Rapp and Bishop are your starting safeties. And, you're going to add, I assume, something at receiver, but even if you don't, I think you're still winning the AFC East. I think you run this team back here giving Javon Solomon some of Von Miller's snaps, and you're going to win 11 games. I think. I think the division is still going to be. I'd expect Miami to rebound if Tua
can't be worse.
Right, it cannot be worse, but I don't see it being that much harder. I mean, Miami could be heard from. I don't believe the Jets are going to be anywhere near anything in year one with Aaron Glenn. That might be a good hire, but I don't think they're going to get there right away. And the Patriots, I think, have a while to go.
You might be wondering if I'm going to be Mr. Jet again.
Yeah.
It's going to be harder.
Sure.
It's going to be harder next year. Well, who knows? Maybe Matthew Stafford will be their quarterback or something.
Yeah, who knows?
Next year.
But no, I don't think there's anything in the. It's part of the reason why that, even as downtrodden as I know most of us were, and even myself, by Tuesday of last week, I'm like, it's not. They're not in that bad a shape here. I'm going to be ready. I'm not ready necessarily, that day, but I'll be ready to get going on ideas and ways they can improve. But I think if they even just sort of status quo, I think they're the favorite in the AFC East again. And
they've got to be.
So, that isn't necessarily equating to Super Bowl contender status, but this year it did. I mean, they ruled the division, they cruised, and they were a force to be reckoned with, and I think next year will be very similar. I don't want to say regardless of what they do personnel-wise, because, again, they're going to do stuff, and they could do stuff that doesn't work and get worse, I suppose, right? If they change out things, try to get better at corner, but miss. Try to get better at safety, but miss. Then, you could get in some trouble, I suppose. But
I think if, a few of those things happened then.
Right.
I would still like to run back my theory that I don't know that it's even that interesting. I mean, people don't challenge me on this. You have the elite quarterback. The floor is the middle. The worst you're going to do is this year's Bengals, who had a great offense and a great season from Joe Burrow, but they still, what did they win? 8 or 9, right?
Yeah.
Just missed. So I think with Allen, Jackson, Burrow, Mahomes, maybe that's it. All in the AFC. A bad season, apart from injury,
right.
a bad season is these kinds of things, defense, bad luck, these kinds of things. The schedule's harder, the division's better, then you're looking at 9 or 10. I think that's your floor. What was Cincinnati? They got within a tiebreaker of it.
Cincinnati was 9-8.
They got to 9. And weren't they – what was the year before in that division? All the teams had winning records?
Hang on, I can get that for you pretty quickly.
That wasn't this year because of Cleveland.
Right.
But last year, did the Bengals finish last? The previous year?
I'm going to get it for you. Hang on. Sorry, it took me a little longer to find the
Baltimore was the 1 seed. Pittsburgh played here in the playoffs.
They all
playoffs.
had winning records, and Cincinnati last year was 9-8.
Okay, they were not last this year, but they were last year.
Right.
Both seasons were 9-8.
Yeah.
To me, that is. Did anybody disagree with this? That the floor isn't lower than that because Allen is worth so much, and there's no reason to think he's not going to be the same player yet. We're not to that stage yet. So, okay. It's good and bad. For me, I would say this is good and bad. It's good because you're in a pretty safe space in this division with this player. Changes are going to happen, but maybe even get better. It kind of happened this year, you could say. And, that's a very good lifestyle. What's bad about it is, like, what do we say about all this? Like, what do we do with the regular season this time? It is the 1 seed is meaningful, and we tracked that last year, all year, rightly. It ended up coming down to late in the season, and the Bills could not get there despite having such a great record. So there is that. There's the race to track and talk about, but it's even more, I think, than last year, a season where it's just going to go by, and then you're going to see what happens in January again. So, I mean, it's mostly good. Not everybody cares so much like what the conversation sounds like. But
right. Well, right.
This offseason starts, and there's debate on what they need, how badly they need it. But really, like, if it doesn't come to fruition the way you'd want it to, then what? All right, well, they win 11.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of where that's where I am. Like, really, I think they could just bring everyone back and do that. And again, that's not realistic. I mean, surely there's going to be changes, and that's the question: how far the needle moves toward being more like a 13 or dare I say 14 win team depends on what exactly you get done. Can you manage to part with? Can you convince Cleveland that you've got a trade package that's attractive enough for them to get off a Myles Garrett trade? That's a trajectory changing move, in my opinion. And I don't think that's even. It's not even just opinion. I mean, I think the dude, provided he's healthy, well, he's a monster.
I think he's great. I think if they did it, we'd be talking about, like, how many wins is he worth? Like it wasn't like the Browns were good, and he was, one of the best players in the league. And you have that with defense. You have that with Micah Parsons. You've had that with T.J. Watt. Like, they're okay. Their teams they help. You want them.
You know what your answer to that question is going to be from a lot of people, including me? I don't. Is it 0.5? Is it 2.5 wins? I don't care. The win that matters the most is the game in January against the Chiefs.
Yep.
If I got a guy now that can do at least something along the lines of what Chris Jones does when they're in that same game, and I haven't had that guy that can do that. You wanted Miller to be that guy, and the first year he was here, the regular season game, he kind of was that guy, right? He was the closer. He made big plays on 3 fourth-quarter drives, and you won the game. Like, okay, there it is. And then he got hurt, and then that was gone. It was in the wind forever. And I strongly doubt he'll be back this year. So that's the win that matters the most. Like, I don't know how to move the meter during the regular season with this team, especially, that I'm telling you already their floor. I mean, you're saying Cincinnati's year, so, but whatever. I think if they don't do Myles Garrett and Rousseau is back in his spot, they're kind of the same team they were this past year. That doesn't mean they'll have the same result and the same record. And I don't know how much better Garrett makes that record, but, man, you're going to feel a lot better going into a game in the middle of January in their place or in our place or anywhere, Australia if you want it.
Australia.
With Myles Garrett lining up. And just, ready to go in that game. Like, that's the reason you make that move is for that moment. And he knows that. Everyone knows that. And, he's got to go perform. And there's no guarantee he will, but, man, he's been pretty good. Even against the Chiefs, he's been pretty good.
I do not want to close the conversation on Myles Garrett. I mean, I don't mind if we talk about him most days until something changes. But are the Bills, likely, unlikely to get him? If you have, what did our guest yesterday say? Mike Tenier, that nobody will talk to him or his friend. Who was it? Nobody will take calls on Myles Garrett around the league because they all want him. Nobody wants to give anything away. You don't have enough teams that are not interested that will just sort of weigh in anonymmously.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and Mike made the point about their draft pick being, there's probably going to be teams in front of you that meet the level of criteria that Garrett's looking for, right? Contender. And look, I mentioned Garrett, what Garrett's looking for. Obviously, the Browns have control here, but Garrett has some. Like, if he isn't agreeable to a contract extension with the new team because he doesn't believe in them, like, they can't just trade him anywhere, I don't think, and get max return. Because max return includes some new contract for him, I think. And he doesn't have to, but I think it probably does if you're going to max out what you can get for him. And so, is Miami, like Miami has better picks. Are they a Super Bowl contender to Myles Garrett? Maybe with the money and everything rolled into one. Like, yeah, that can work for me.
That's a stretch, though.
I know, I agree. But like that, I'm trying to find a way to say, really, a team with the 20th pick instead of the 30th pick, I don't know how much of a chance they really have. The teams that are picking late are the teams that are the Super Bowl contenders. But, maybe he thinks the Chargers can be a Super Bowl contender if he's on the team.
Yep.
Maybe he thinks the Broncos can be a Super Bowl contender if he's on the team. The ego can really get away, do a lot of work in a situation like that. So the draft pick stuff matters, but I think if Bean is motivated, he'll probably have to overpay because of drafting 30th and 60, whatever, just where they're picking in the draft order every round. Even Houston's pick is not, that much better than the Bills' own second-round pick. They'll probably have to overpay if they want to pull it off, and that's why I'm so fascinated with the Rousseau piece of this. Like, can that be one of the assets? So I don't have to give up so much of my premium draft capital. Can Rousseau take the place of something there so that I can pick some guys in April or next April? Because I'm still going to need to replenish with cheap labor here.
But probably the Browns can do way better.
Probably.
Why would they do it, for him? Why not just keep Myles Garrett? Unless you just know he can't play for you. We'll see.
Right. I'm coming from a place where I think they're going to trade him. I don't care what they sound like. I think we've all seen this dance before. Like, sure.
Fine.
They can draw all the lines in the sand they want. The player, if he's a cornerstone kingpin player, he's unhappy, he wants to leave, the sooner you move him, the better off you are. I think usually.
5 or 6 teams in the AFC may be able to consider themselves Super Bowl contenders, and like almost the entire NFC.
Yeah.
Although Philadelphia is this good, but Arizona. If he got traded to Arizona, Kyler Murray, Marvin Harrison, and he got to a press conference and talked about Super Bowl contender, would people laugh at him?
I think so.
Really?
Yeah.
803-0550 for your calls. The 2025 season, we've moved on, at least for now. Joe Ostrowski will join us at 4. Super Bowl props and more.
Excuse me?
No, that's fine. Sal Capaccio, Paul Hamilton later. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here. Hoping to hear from you next. This is WGR.
We know you can't hear every moment of
seem to easily forget how to place your bet. When everyday life gets you down, you gotta steal the crown. Got to own it. Don't bitch and moan about it, please. God forbid you scrape your knees, and it's nothing to sneeze at. Oh, I've told you over and over again. You gotta get both hands around it and make your own plans. Roller coaster, it's taking over. It's about time. Oh, sing your high line on the roller coaster of life. You've got to all choose your timeline with the roller coaster of life. Roller coaster. I want to go down the rabbit hole, down the rabbit hole of life. And now it's about to leave. Oh, roller coaster. Oh, roller coaster.
When you look ahead again to like potential spots, is that something that's important to you, joining a team where the quarterback is set and ready to compete?
Absolutely. Any playoff team or any championship team, they're going to have a quarterback, a good quarterback. And you've seen some game managers, go out there with a great defense and win it all. But, if you want to consistently be at the top, you got to have a really good quarterback.
Myles Garrett with Mina Kimes. Tell us your level of obsession with this Myles Garrett idea. I feel like we're at this time of the show every day talking about him. Mike Tanier yesterday said, kind of dismissed the Bills mostly as a candidate for Garrett, drafting so low and cap room as well. I mean, there certainly are other teams that would seem to have more to offer in a trade. And it might have been Mike Giardi on Monday or Mike Tanier yesterday who, referring to Von Miller, said that was the Bills kind of making this move. And I wondered about that. It wasn't exactly a success. I mean, if it's over, Von Miller, but part of that is his injury, which you could not control.
It was going
fine.
Really, I'd even say, see, there's fine again.
Yeah.
Really, I got to be very careful about, because I'm publicly now saying my problem with the word fine. So if my wife brings me something to eat and she asks me how it is and I say it's fine, I might get in trouble. So I got to work on that.
Well, that's the common meaning, I think. Like, that is what most people, if you really don't like it that much, it's good enough.
Right.
Fine means good enough.
And I don't want to tell her that about her spaghetti sauce.
You might you want to be, you're saying I got to be careful not to say it in the wrong situation.
That's right. That's all I'm saying. Here it is actually, I think, fine. To use really good. Like, what, it was going like about how you would have expected it to go with a guy that age.
Wanted it to go even.
Yeah. I mean, he was making plays. I already referenced the Chief regular season game. Like, it looked like, okay. I don't think it, was going to last forever. And it lasted a little shorter than we would have hoped. You would have hoped to at least get like 2 good seasons out of it, or 3, and you got, I don't know, 10 games. Is that what it was? It was Thanksgiving. in Detroit. So anyway, yeah, I mean that was exactly that, and it wasn't draft pick compensation because he was a free agent. But that's what that was. That was a big swing at a defensive difference maker. Is what that was.
Would the Bills, like, would you, or do you think the Bills, thinking about Von Miller and that move, would it be more of a reason why they would want to do this, or less? Like, less in our guest's point, which, we did this. We went out and spent up, probably knew we shouldn't have money-wise, but we just felt like, let's go. And they make that move for Miller, and it's mostly busted, with some of that being not really the Bills' fault. But, he was older, and he'd had an injury already. Like, it's always complicated like that. So that could be, we did this, and it really didn't work. Plus, they drafted Rousseau and Basham there in the draft in 21, also trying to get there, pass rush-wise. And Rousseau has been pretty good, fine, even.
Sure.
So it could be like the Bills are just constantly hot for this kind of player, and they're drafting it, and they can't get there, and then they're spending the huge free agent contract on it, and they don't get there, and they still think it's right.
Right.
Brandon Beane still thinks it's right, and then wants this.
I think when you ask it, obviously it's a difficult question to answer definitively, because I don't know. Like, they could be gun shy about it because they got burned. You do have to start, I think, differentiating the scenarios, age, injury history, that kind of thing, on the other side of age and injury history, which are in favor of making the Garrett move as opposed to the Miller moves. It's not a duplicate move. It's not because of the age and injury history, but you've got, taking the place of those concerns, you've got massive asset compensation. You've got to trade multiple premium assets to get your hands on the player and then pay him even more than you paid Von Miller. I would understand anybody in that job being gun shy about it. It is, when you're stacking up, maybe even when Terry Pagula is stacking up what kind of job Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott have done for me, Von Miller's a loss. Like, Von Miller's a miss. And if the owner is bothered by that, then maybe, and that's knowledge I don't have. I suppose Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott they certainly have a better chance of knowing that than me, maybe even a really good chance of knowing that. Maybe they've been told specifically, don't worry about it. That happens. It's sports. Or, what did we do with $120 million again? Exactly. Like, how much did we? They haven't paid all that money, but still, it was a big outlay, and they got very little payoff for it. So they could be gun shy about it. My opinion would be, don't be. You need to be like a cornerback that just got burned. You got a team to run. Doesn't mean you can be reckless about it, but Beane said himself, guys like Chris Jones do not become available. I mean, there's a reason Miller was more of a risk. If Myles Garrett plays out his contract in harmony with the Cleveland Browns for 2 more years and becomes a free agent at age 31, it's maybe a little scarier. He's got another 2 years of wear and tear on him, and what happens now? But at this age, a guy like that available, I think you have to put on the blinders and not worry about all the things that can go wrong. Because, of course, we know it's sports. Like, one wrong step, and wow. What happened? He's out. What do you mean he's out? So there's always that trap door, but you have to, I think, operate as though you're not worried about that. It's hard, I think, to not worry about stuff. I mean, we out here worry about it. It's not even our jobs, let alone the guy that actually his name is on the sign or, on the door.
Trade for him and then just sit him until the playoffs. Right? If we're all so sure, I'm not any different. If we're all so sure they'll win 11 games no matter what, with Myles Garrett or without, with Diggs or without, they'll 13 even this year. I'll just give them load management. Would that be good for the player to just not play at all until January?
I'm going to think no.
Get him a few games in there, not all of them.
I'm not against some load management, though. But this is...
I love a load management.
I'd love some load management myself.
Yeah. It's a great idea.
Yeah.
Mark is with us. Hello, Mark.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me on. I'm just reminded of not too long ago when we needed a wide receiver before, I believe it was before Diggs, that this general manager, Brandon Beane, he had a deal in place for Antonio Brown to bring him to Buffalo. That's how aggressive he was. And this guy's saying he wants to trade. I would argue that one of McDermott's biggest flaws is being to get a pass rush. I think too often, especially in that Cincinnati game, Burrow wasn't touched. I just think that he struggled to put together the right mesh of guys to be able to rush the passer in the playoffs. And it's not going to surprise me at all when we sign a Myles Garrett or a Max Crosby. And I'm really looking forward to it because I think the defense really regressed. And it's just a problem. That's going to be the focus this offseason. I have listened to you guys. Thanks.
Sure. I don't dispute who does that Garrett is great. Crosby, Vaughn in his prime, these guys, Chris Jones. There's only so much they can do. Mahomes, Burrow. I guess Joe had it that Garrett has been kind of tough on Mahomes.
3 sacks in 4 games, maybe. Lot of pressures. Just good. Good.
There was a playoff game too. Yeah. There was a playoff game too. I wonder how that went. But I think it's just as the story in these losses is just as much the quarterback's ability to get the ball out fast. That's what this game was. To just not get hit. And Allen, for the most part, is the same. I mean, Allen has had pressure from Jones on a play or two, but it's not like he's getting sacked in these games, really. Like, it's Burrow, Jackson, mostly, like, you only have so much control over them, and it's not that much, right? Like, the Bills will score their 30 points, the Chiefs will score their 30 points, the Ravens will score their 30 points. They all did.
Right.
And I know Myles Garrett was not on the field, but Jones was, and Bills guys, Baltimore guys, still happens.
It really comes. I think for me, I'm even going to turn into a broken record on this. It just comes down to that one play. Like, Jones wasn't at the point of attack on the final 4th and 5 play, but there was a scheme there, and Jones is on the field. But they schemed up something, and Karlaftis made they made a play, and the reason you pay. It might sound ridiculous put this way. The reason you pay all the assets, all the, everything, right? All the king's horses and all the king's men is for that moment. It's 4th and 5. I got to stop you. And, it's tough if the ball comes out in, so fast that you can't even do anything about it. But that's why you make the trades, why you outlay the assets and you pay the guy $30 to $35 million a year to be on your team. Is so in that moment, I've got a guy that is, you're going to have to deal with him. And if you if you devote too much to him, somebody else is going to be available to make a play, and I'm going to stop you.
The thing about that play is, though, it was an idea.
Right, more than anybody making a play.
It was not just man on man, they won. Last year's ending was more like that on the second down Allen play, or even what was on third. Allen gets
flushed out and just runs around, I wonder, overall here, the Bills did certainly against Baltimore, not as much against Kansas City, but they had to pivot. McDermott told us on the Monday after the game when he joined us, that quick passing game, that they had to adapt to that, and that meant more man. And so I wonder if there's going to be a movement this offseason. This is where my idea about status quo, roll it back. I mean, obviously that's not ever going to happen. I wonder if they want to modify what's in their toolbox a little bit, right? Like, can we get a guy? This is where the Elam miss is so bad, because I can remember when he was drafted, and reading about and hearing about and talking with Sal and all our other draft analyst people, like, he's more of a man guy. That's his strong suit. Well, maybe that's because being so zone heavy all these years, McDermott wants to mix it up a little bit more, so we get a guy that can do that, and I've got a leg up on you because I'm gonna mix and match a little more. That never came to fruition, in large part because Elam couldn't get on the field. Find a guy that can do that, or some guys that can do that, and maybe you can do a little more. I'm not saying you're going to turn into Steve Spagnuolo here, but you can offset how teams are hurting you with that quick game if you have better man players. And the Bills don't have a lot of just plain foot speed, which is a key element for, not the only element, but it certainly helps.
With all this being said, they did hire a coach today, Ryan Nielsen, who's been the Jacksonville defensive coordinator and was the defensive line coach for New Orleans for a few years, and reads like his team's got pressure. They ranked high in sacks, the Saints, the year he was the defensive line coach for the Saints. So more man-to-man defense, so the Bills shifted toward that in the playoffs, or more of that. So you could have a change in philosophy here and a new voice. So, that's not exactly Myles Garrett insurance or anything, but
right.
They're still trying to figure out, as they should be, how to get more in that area. And I think this move today is probably an indication of that. Joe Ostrowski at 4, Bet Sweats. So BetQL is now Bet Sweats. Joe today, Sammy P tomorrow. Sal and Paul will join us later. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here, 803-0550. This is WGR.
More of Schopp and the Bulldog coming up, live from the Just Call Jed Studios. Injured? Best results?
Open the Bulldog, thanks for listening and watching. Our shows are streamed on YouTube now, an up-and-coming platform. And Twitch.
Don't forget Twitch.
Which everybody knows Twitch from, growing up. But YouTube, I feel like, has got some steam.
Plucky underdog YouTube. Maybe they can make a go of it.
Wait, what's this? They have the Sunday ticket?
I mean, they obviously wanted us to prop up their platform.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. They obviously did. That's right. How are we doing on that? Are you hearing anything? I've not really heard anything.
I think the higher ups are happy. I think with how it's going so far.
Do you know that?
Yeah.
I have heard a couple people, like Matt Collar today, like I told you already, how he said, I can click you guys on now. It's easy. We do have an app.
Yep.
But this is easier.
As
long as you're not driving.
I find it easier to handle. Yeah. I mentioned yesterday how I knew I saw a tweet a half an hour after the fact, Lindy Ruff. I'm like, I'll just turn it on now. It's 8:30. He was on at 8 o'clock. Rewind 25 minutes. Bing, there's Lindy Ruff. And I don't know.
That's way easier.
I'm not. Yeah. I mean, I've had a hard time doing that sort of thing on our app. I'll just say it that way. That's been clumsy for me. I've liked to think, in defense of our company, that it's more of a me problem. But nonetheless, this works for me.
Let's call it an us problem then.
Okay. Good.
Troy is next. Hi, Troy.
Hey, gentlemen. Thank you for taking my call. I appreciate it.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for calling us.
Real quick, just about that fight again on Tuesday. It felt like punishing a dog for something they did the day before. It made really no sense. I kind of agree that it was more embarrassing to fight at that point. And also for the Bills, what do you guys think about maybe them hitting up the Bengals? Get something going with them, maybe with Hendrickson. I mean, they have to extend Chase, and I think re-sign Higgins. So maybe I feel like we got a good working relationship with them. So I think that'd be a good idea. I'll hang up with you guys. Thank you.
All right. I don't see that happening. Cincinnati, they're not going to be able to keep everybody over time, but, trading a star player to Buffalo, I don't see that happening.
I don't either. I do think that is going to blow apart at some point. It already has started. I mean, they lost good defensive players. Everybody does. But Hendrickson, Higgins, they still don't even have Chase signed. So, I mean, I don't know. We've talked with our buddy Joe Goodberry about this specific point, whether or not they, from an ownership standpoint, have the cash on hand to lay out all the bonus money that it takes to, they got Burrow done, but they'll get Chase maybe done. That's not done yet. That's not maybe they're a team that has to bring in these public investment fund investors. Toot sweet,
Vince Carter.
I'm not sure how much fluidity they've got. If that's the right phrasing there.
Liquidity, maybe.
Okay, thank you.
I'm not sure I'm right there, but maybe.
Yeah, that sounds maybe
fluid
more right.
and liquid are close to almost synonyms.
Cash on hand is all I'm talking about.
Cash on hand. I've got about $9 on me. Cash on hand right now is $9.
I don't even have $9 on.
I've got $9. Don't ask for 10.
I have more than 9 at home, tucked away, hidden.
I'm deciding whether to take a Devontae Smith prop with my $9. 803-0550. Who better than Joe Ostrowski to ask of whether that's a good idea? We'll talk Super Bowl props and more with Joe after the update. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.
Caller
We've been living in sin so long, all the feels are gone. Fella stopped me on the street last night, said everything's alright. Roller coaster, make it through the day upright. It seems your meal ticket is gone, but life goes on. I could never imagine something better. Yeah, right. Now you're cooking on high heat in the middle of the street. Roller coaster, take me to a better time. Let's go. All sing your high line with the roller coaster of life. It's time to all choose your timeline on the roller coaster of life. You seem to easily forget how to place your bet. When everyday life gets you down, you gotta steal the crown. Got to own it. Don't bitch and moan about it, please. God forbid you scrape your knees, and it's nothing to sneeze at. Oh, I've told you over and over again. You gotta get both hands around it and make your own plans. Roller coaster, it's taking over. It's about time. Oh, all sing your high line on the roller coaster of life. You've got to all choose your timeline with the roller coaster of life. Roller coaster. I want to go down the rabbit hole, down the rabbit hole of life. And now it's about to leave. Oh, roller coaster. Roller coaster.
Bills. The Bills have 3 finalists for awards: quarterback Josh Allen, the league MVP; safety Damar Hamlin, comeback player of the year; and offense coordinator Joe Brady for assistant coach of the year. That event is going to begin at 8 p.m. over on Fox and NFL Network. And then following the awards at 9 p.m., the 2025 NFL Hall of Fame class will be announced on the exact same channels. Those finalists are headlined by the likes of quarterback Eli Manning, wide receiver Steve Smith, tight end Antonio Gates, and linebacker Terrell Suggs, of course, among others. And we also do have some Bills coaching news, as reportedly former Jags and Falcons defensive coordinator Ryan Nielsen is joining the Bills as a senior defensive assistant. Some other news in the NFL: Chicago Bears owner Virginia McCaskey died today at the age of 102. The daughter of team founder George Halas, she has owned the team since his death in 1983. And then potentially something to keep an eye on for Sunday: Eagles defensive tackle Jalen Carter dealing with an illness that has led defensive coordinator Vic Fangio to say he is hoping that Carter will be able to play on Sunday. And then in college hoops, the Niagara Purple Eagles, just outside of Boston tonight, they take on Merrimack. Tip-off scheduled for just after 7. You can listen to that game right here on WGR. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of business. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Raisin Bran up there. Everybody knows it.
It's Mike Schopp.
Listen, get your own stupid old dying person team and choose your own cereals.
And the Bulldog.
I shall unleash my fury upon you like the crashing of 1,000 waves.
That cereal is soggy. You reach into the fridge for the milk and open the lid on the milk to pour it in there, and that crap is already soggy.
I am untethered and my rage knows no bounds.
That's a problem. That's a problem for a cereal. I
huge
think.
problem.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog on WGR Sports Radio 550.
I will not answer the same question the same way on the air that you just asked me. Ask me the same question.
We're watching the golf here. It's the the waste management. Watching the golf. It's in Phoenix. They got that stadium hole at 16, and I said to you, that'd be fun, right?
Absolutely.
That's fun?
Absolutely. To do it once? Yeah. Sure. Yeah. I think so. Some things have to be fun. Going to sports needs to be fun. It can't always be like, where's the bathroom? I'm so tired. Everything's so expensive. I mean, no, it's got to be fun. It's got to be fun. I have 2 friends who are there this week.
I think I have to be.
On purpose.
I would have to be to sit there. I'm not saying going to a golf, but just be there, that scene, people chugging 2 beers at a time, just. I think I got to be like half my age right now to say that I would sign up for that.
Well, you don't have to do that. You don't have to chug the beers.
No, I know. Just to be around that scene.
Okay.
Is a whole thing for me anyway.
What about the Derby?
I think the Derby, like that, is. It's more tradition.
It's bigger.
It's bigger. It's more steeped in tradition than this is.
Drinks are way better.
But even that now, I don't know. I think my time is come and gone. When Jeremy was first talking about going, he ultimately went, I think, one time to Louisville for this to experience it. Like if you can do it like Eric Wood does it with like Tom Brady and all his pals, like that's one thing. If I'm parking 6 miles away and waiting for a shuttle bus and then getting off the bus and trudging 2 miles through mud if it rained, and then I'm like, oh, great. Here you go. Here's your rum and Coke. I don't know, man. I'm not sure I'm up for that. And this thing, there's probably a shuttle bus for this thing, and then I'm around a bunch of frat boys that are just, drinking Jameson out of a boot or something. I don't know. It's not my scene anymore, man.
It isn't.
I don't think that sounds like fun to me.
Joe Ostrowski. Bet Sweats, formerly BetQL Daily, joining us now on the West Her Hotline.
Joe, have you ever drunk Jameson out of a boot?
Today?
I have not, but tomorrow you can ask Sam, and I guarantee the answer is a yes.
Okay.
There's no doubt about it.
I definitely believe that.
If we may, do you envy fans at the Phoenix Open or the Kentucky Derby, for that matter?
Every year.
Okay.
Every year. And I think I need to go And I know it's never going to happen with the Phoenix Open because look at where we are with the calendar.
Right.
It's never happening because it's on Super Bowl week, which
last year was your year, right? Wasn't it in Phoenix? The Super Bowl was in Arizona last year.
There were people doing both.
That was the time to do it. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it was. I would definitely go, and I just like it because the atmosphere is the exact opposite of everything you see at every other golf tournament, right? And, there are prop bets on that too, by the way. The cross-sport props, how many hole-in-ones that you're going to see on that 16th hole over these 4 days versus, I think, the shortest touchdown, like which number is going to be higher, the shortest touchdown in the Super Bowl. But, yeah, those are a couple events that, as you guys were talking, I was thinking, okay, what sporting event do I need to go to that I always think about going to that I still haven't? It's an SEC football game for me.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's always been up high on my list, too.
So you've never gone?
No.
Yeah, same.
No.
Mine is the Australian Open. Really, it is.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Well, I just thought you picked Australia because of the NFL news.
No, it's always – that's ours at home is the Australian Open because it's winter, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it's summer. It's just 2 weeks. You got to – you got to be loaded to go to the Australian Open.
Yeah, I'm just being honest. Like I certainly see the appeal. I've had my fun drinking all day when I was younger. That's why the part of this point is I got to be like half my age. I feel like right now if I went there, be like, this sounds great. This sounds great. This sounds great. I'd be there an hour. Be like, I got to get out of here.
Yeah.
What's the rest of the course look like? I can't. I don't know. Yeah. The shirtless dudes. I don't know. It just would. This is not my scene.
Probably good.
No, I get it. Like last year, took an adults-only vacation to Mexico. It was somebody's birthday they were celebrating, and we just went hard. Like we were 21 again. Mm-hmm. And at the end, I was dead. I was just done for. So imagine
how many days was that?
That was a few days.
Okay.
It's like, the last day nobody drank. It was like, it's a pool day. We need to serve
Right.
It's probably great as long as you can remember it.
Right.
Yeah.
Quick one here on this note. Adults vacation. We went to Spain last summer, Joe, and it's like 7 or 8 couples, and a part of it, a couple days in Barcelona, then we're up in the mountains at a winery. And we had the whole place to ourselves. And so, wine, beer, it just, the first night we're there is like the sun comes up, right? I mean, it's just like we went hard,
yes.
Right? Saturday is like, okay, regroup, but kind of right back at it. Eventually you're just like, okay, let's go. By Sunday, my wife and I took a drive by ourselves. We went out for dinner, and while we're sitting at the restaurant, I said to her, I swear to God, she'll vouch for me. I said, how bad is it that I'm considering faking a heart attack just to get in a bed? Like get an ambulance to come get me and get me out of here because I want to die right now.
Not fatal.
No, just
not a fatal heart attack.
I want to fake it just so an ambulance comes. I get, okay, I'm on a stretcher. This is way better than sitting here drinking with you again.
Wow, That's bad.
Yeah.
That was a question, right? How bad?
It's pretty bad.
Pretty bad.
All right. Anyway, we're going to move on now. Sorry.
All right, Joe. Well, speaking of big events, the big game here on Sunday, you guys have been talking about it, you and Sam, all the time, of course. What have you settled on?
Is it here yet? Jeez.
One more day for us.
Come on, man. Please. I'm just dying. All right. As far as the game, I know everybody wants to pick on the game. I can't sit here and say that I have a super strong opinion. Now, I have a lean. I'll have a bet on it, of course, because it's a Super Bowl. But more so into the props. But I hear a lot of Chiefs and a lot of over, which I understand. Yeah, I do understand what people are saying. I'm not saying these are sharp people. I'm just saying everywhere you look, everywhere you consume picks and media and all that stuff. And I am opposite on both.
Me too.
I'm Eagles and I'm under. People keep referencing the Super Bowl from 2 years ago. These are very different teams, different coaches. I mean, Vic Fangio has changed how much? It's as much of a reason as anything that they're in this spot. But, yeah, I mean, people have gone over it a million times, and I agree with everything they're saying about you can make the case that the Eagles have the advantage or at least a slight advantage everywhere on the football field except for the quarterback and the head coach. And we've probably had that conversation many, many times before. But, no, I'm I'm on the Eagles, and I think it's going to be a fascinating game. It's probably going to be a one-possession game, which is scary, as the Chiefs have now won 17 straight one-possession games. It's going to end at some point here, an NFL record. But, I'm also on the under. People remember the record-setting day that was Championship Sunday with all those points in both of those games and the overs hitting in the divisional round. But, man, that's going to be one hell of a matchup, the one between the defensive coordinators, and I don't think that one's getting enough love.
I swear to God, if the Chiefs get a break with this Carter being sick, I am going to lose my mind.
Jesus.
Like if we get to Sunday and I've got Jay Glazer on Fox saying he's puking or something and he's still in the team hotel, like
Yeah, I know. At least it feels like we're far out, even though we're really not.
Yeah.
And I hope there's enough time and it doesn't spread too far. But, yeah, you're talking to someone that a couple weeks ago decided to grab a $650 to $1 Jalen Carter Super Bowl MVP ticket.
Let's go.
So I really hope.
Maybe there's a dip. Maybe there's
live.
a dip today.
Oh, yeah. I don't think it's going that far again.
I'm with you on this game. I see the Bucs game when thinking of the Chiefs here, where maybe Philadelphia is just too much up front. Kansas City, like, tackles and just not interior, but on the edges, they're kind of vulnerable. And I love that for Philadelphia. I also think, I don't know, this is probably going too far, but if they get a lead, forget it. I think, Kansas City has not been a team this year that can rack up points. So, I like your point about the recency bias, Joe, because maybe we forgot here in the playoffs what kind of year it was for the Chiefs.
Yeah, and I actually think it's a good point about that Eagles front, and I kind of think the middle is going to be soft because it looks like they're going to keep Tooney at left tackle. And since they moved Mike Caliendo inside, I mean, if you look at their PFF grade, the Chiefs, they go from 91 down to 64, and that was with a couple weeks left in the regular season. So you think about Jalen Carter, if healthy, matched up against Caliendo, you would think that he's going to have a big game. Another thing that has really just annoyed the hell out of me, and I just get bothered every time I hear it. Vic Fangio's 0-8 against Patrick Mahomes. It is so stupid. It is an 8-game sample, and 6 of those with Denver, 2 with Miami. This defense is much better.
Yeah.
In those 8 games, the offense that was on Vic Fangio's team averaged 11.9 points per game against Kansas City.
Right.
In those 8 games, the Chiefs scored 6 defensive or special teams touchdowns. It is just a dumb and you look at it, guys, 8 games, Mahomes had 10 passing touchdowns. Is that owning Vic Fangio? 233 average on the yards. Is that owning Vic Fangio? That's really bothered me over the last couple of weeks. Sorry.
I know you like Devontae Smith here. I'm seeing a lot of that. I watch you, so maybe that's why. But I'm seeing a lot of Devontae Smith in this matchup. Talk us into that.
Okay, so I hadn't heard much of that at all over the last couple of weeks. And we had Paul Charchian on the show today, and I thought he brought up a few really good points. And I'm looking for different points of view on this game because as you put out like 30 hours of content on it, you end up repeating the same thing, and then sometimes you run into some groupthink, which is always a little dangerous, especially on the sports betting side of things. But Paul Charchian's favorite prop bet was on Devontae Smith, which I found really interesting because there's so much chatter about Saquon and Goddard, who I'm a fan of in this matchup going against the Chiefs. Terrible against tight end all year. And then A.J. Brown has the big NFC Championship game, so people are on that. They're saying over 70.5. And nobody's been really bringing up Devontae Smith. And Charch went on and on about how much he lines up in the slot, how that is the weak spot of the Chiefs defense. And, thinking about how nobody's really talking about him, I think that's a really strong angle. And you're getting a bit of a bargain on the number. 4.5 receptions, 49.5 receiving yards. I think that's a pretty good look by Charch, and he talked us into that one on the show today.
I want to pick Philadelphia to win comfortably. And I was looking at the alt lines at BetMGM, where minus 9.5, 10.5, 11.5, 12.5, they're all kind of the same price. And I thought of you because you might tell me, I'm asking you, if I want to. So the key numbers, right? Is that where I want to be, or do I want to? Is 12.5 meaningfully, better to play than 10.5 or something?
Yeah, well, some of the key numbers have changed, especially if you look at this season. And, it's still 3 and still 7. Those are the first two big ones. I think most people understand why. But now with the 2-point conversions. But you look at these two teams, the Chiefs don't do that a lot. They don't. Not super aggressive as far as that goes. Andy Reid's fine taking 3 points. He's fine going for the extra point. So I wonder how much into play that's going to be. And you said 10, 11,
12. I mean,
they're all in the same number?
Plus 400, plus 450.
Yeah, okay. Certainly the 10.5, I find kind of like, I think 21-10 if you're thinking a lower scoring game. 3, 7, 10, those are popular. 4, I understand why. 11 or the 8 and the 3 getting to 11. So if 10.5 is close to 11.5, I'm fine laying the 10.5. But that's an interesting one that I don't think a ton of people are talking about. They just can't envision the Chiefs getting blown out in this game. I think it is. it is very possible.
I think the Chiefs want to protect that one-score game thing, and will give up a couple of cheapies late if they're
I got
losing.
A pretty nice price in the AFC Championship game, putting the Bills at, I think, minus 6.5. And, you know how that ended.
There's a reason why these apps are so successful.
Yeah, they maybe know what they're doing a little bit.
Awards night, Joe.
It is.
MVP, is there drama for you?
I think there is, guys.
I do too.
Yeah, I think there are a number of awards that we can hit on that the voting is going to be much closer than most years. There are a few that seem to be done, but as far as the MVP, if you're asking for a prediction, I would say yes, I believe Josh Allen gets it, but Lamar Jackson's going to get some love. He got the All-Pro love, and he's going to get love in this spot as well, and then there will be some that say, hey, that's too many at this point, and Josh Allen is pretty close. I've seen some make the case that, last year should have been Josh Allen, and they give it to Lamar, and then this year maybe it should be Lamar, and they're going to give it to Josh Allen, and in the end it ends up being a wash. Each of them get one, and they each probably deserve one. But I do expect it to be Josh Allen in a very close vote.
Okay. Coach of the Year, O'Connell?
I think so, and he's the heavy favorite. But I expect if I'm voting, this is my toughest award because we could sit here and make a strong case for Campbell, for Quinn, for Andy Reid, maybe Harbaugh, maybe even Sean Payton doing more than people expected him to do with the Denver Broncos and Bo Nix's first year. But, yeah, what O'Connell did, remember, they were supposed to be the fourth-place team in that division coming into the year. And what he ended up doing with Sam Darnold, that idea was thrown around in the summer, and it was kind of laughed at by some people. And look at what ends up happening. They were supposed to have an impossible schedule at the beginning of the year, and to do this, at least in the regular season, in the most challenging division, I mean, they were ousted quickly, all those teams in the playoffs. But, yeah, the NFC North is pretty deep, pretty tough. I do expect it to be O'Connell, and I don't know if his quarterback will get the comeback. I don't think that's going to happen. I'm expecting the comeback player to go to Joe Burrow. He ended up closing as a big favorite. There was some real value, guys, even midway through the year. Like Burrow was around 5-1. And, there are going to be people that just shy away because they're not rules, but the guidelines that were set as far as Darnold, since he's not coming back from an injury. Right. So I expect that to be Burrow, O'Connell for coach.
And the Bengals, I think, were 4-8. Maybe that's why the price was that. Yeah, Darnold's going to suffer from the Geno Smith reality when he came back from being bad.
Right, that's it.
And they decided to tweak.
And
Flacco, right. Came back from just not playing,
right?
Whatever that was. Can you bet on anything for 2025 yet?
Most sports books have not posted anything yet. There are a couple of offshore sites. A lot of that is going to be out late on Sunday night and then on Monday morning. But I'm sure you can find stuff on Monday that will be available. But I'm sure we can all sit here and take some guesses about which teams are going to be at the very top.
Buffalo or Baltimore? Baltimore the second choice in the AFC?
Man.
Close, right?
Yeah.
Tied even maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, possibly. I think they'd lean Buffalo, knowing that Buffalo's going to take on more money.
Do you have a value bet in mind, or you're so immersed in this game here? I know, maybe not, but I wonder if there's a team that will be slept on early, that probably an NFC team for this, that could be good value early.
I do see one offshore spot that does have it, and of course the Chiefs are the favorite. They put the Ravens second, but I mean we're talking splitting hairs. Plus 550 for KC, plus 650 for Baltimore, plus 700 for you guys, and then the Eagles come in. So 3 AFC teams, and then 4 NFC teams: Philly, Detroit, San Francisco, and Washington. The Niners and Commanders have the same odds at 14-1. Just looking for a little bit of value, you would have to consider the Bengals 18-1. I'd say there's a little bit of value there, even though they have these slow starts every single year. Can you figure out something with the defense, guys? You know, the Chargers, I don't expect them to take a step backwards, guys. Mm-hmm. So they're another dangerous team. Harbaugh's starting to get his players in. They're 25-1 on this specific
I like that.
book.
I like that.
I like that Washington number. Like they have a ton of cap room, and if they could get Myles Garrett, they could get Cooper Kupp, they could get anybody they want with the cap room they've got. And if they can win some of that stuff, man, their number could jump really big by the time we get to like June even.
And they'll win the division because nobody wins the NFC East 2 years in a row.
Right.
So it can't be Philadelphia. Rule that out right now.
Yeah, of the teams that have the cap space, Bulldog, I mean, come on. Patriots, Raiders, Cardinals. The Chargers and Commanders are the ones that are up there. That could do something.
Joe, what a pleasure it's been to have you on every week through another football season. Good luck Sunday, and anything we can do for you, let us know.
Same to you guys.
Thank
Enjoy
you.
the game.
Joe Ostrowski. Bet Sweats is the new name of his show with Sam Panayotovich, formerly BetQL Daily. We'll take a break here. Andrew Filipponi was on with us yesterday. A tweet from him today about the Steelers, I think might be fun to play with in terms of the Bills. Sal Capaccio coming up at 5. Paul Hamilton later still. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here, WGR.
We know you can't hear every moment of Sabres Live.
said everything's alright. Roller coaster, make it through the day upright. It seems your meal ticket is gone, but life goes on. I could never imagine something better. Yeah, right. Now you're cooking on high heat in the middle of the street. Roller coaster, take me to a better time. Let's go. All sing your high line with the roller coaster of life. Yeah. It's time to all choose your timeline on the roller coaster of life. Oh, you seem to easily forget how to place your bet. When everyday life gets you down, you gotta steal the crown. Got to own it. Don't bitch and moan about it, please. God forbid you scrape your knees, and it's nothing to sneeze at. Oh, I've told you over and over again. You gotta get both hands around it and make your own plans. Roller coaster, it's taking over. It's about time. Oh, sing your highlight.
Are tonight as regular season awards will be handed out down in New Orleans. 3 Buffalo Bills are finalists. Quarterback Josh Allen for league MVP, safety Damar Hamlin for comeback player of the year, and offense coordinator Joe Brady for assistant coach of the year. That event's going to begin at 8 p.m. over on Fox and the NFL Network. And then following that at 9, the 2025 NFL Hall of Fame class will also be announced over on the same channels. And the Bills do have some coaching news as well. Reportedly former Jags and Falcons defensive coordinator Ryan Nielsen is joining the Bills as a senior defensive assistant. We'll get more on the Bills, and Sal Capaccio will join the show in just about a half hour at 5 o'clock. Some other news in the NFL. Chicago Bears owner Virginia McCaskey died today at the age of 102. She is the daughter of team founder George Halas and has owned the team since his death in 1983. And then in college hoops, Niagara Purple Eagles are just outside of Boston tonight to take on Merrimack. Tip-off scheduled for just after 7, and you can listen to that game right here on WGR. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet, celebrating 90 years of business. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Each year, we just got new TV deals, and, we all want to stay together, so we're all going to do what it takes to do that. And, we have great players that have done great things and deserve to be paid. They're going to be paid what they're worth, whether we do it or somebody else. I hope we do it. I think, we've had the discussions that the guys are going to get paid that need to get paid. And so it's a big offseason for the Bengals.
Joe Burrow. He's out there going, hey, I at least been to one.
Can't take that away from him.
Is that
why would you want to?
Is that a memorable Super Bowl at all? Like, what is Rams-Bengals in history? Weird.
Not memorable at all.
No?
No. I don't. Odell Beckham made a play. I remember that, and then he got hurt.
Tore his ACL.
Yeah. I really don't remember anything else about the game other than Odell Beckham.
Mixon threw a touchdown pass.
Really?
Yes. Yes, actually. He actually did.
Why don't they just have Burrow do it?
I don't. Deception.
Hey!
T. Higgins caught like an 80-yarder that was good for me financially. My buddy Adam and I had it's a fantasy team with Higgins. Higgins was our Bengal.
Oh, you don't say. You had a fantasy team with your buddy Adam.
Yeah. Adam Kelly. And Higgins, one guy per team.
Who's Adam Kelly?
A guy I know.
Okay, all right. This is Adam. I think I heard Adam Krautwurst no matter what you said just now.
No, it wasn't him, though.
Okay.
You know who he was with today? Justin Bailey.
All right. Nice.
Friend's relative. Like a friend's distant nephew or something. I didn't really understand.
Yeah.
Another guy we know from fantasy football, and he's related to Justin Bailey. I said, oh, Joe Biscaglia, our former colleague, is first cousins with Justin Bailey. And Adam's response was, LOL.
Huh.
Like, no, I think their moms are sisters.
Yeah.
I think that was the story, right? Remember this?
Yes.
When Bailey was on the Sabres.
Yes.
And Adam said, seriously? Like, yeah. So I haven't heard back. I'm still not sure if he took me seriously. But
we met him after we were in Erie. We played in Jamestown. This was like Bison's days, like not serious hockey yet. Really, only the last 5 years got serious, and then it ended. But we were with some friends playing a game in Jamestown, and we decided we were going to go down to Erie because the first time we went to Erie for a tournament, McDavid had hurt his hand maybe a couple of games prior in a fight. And so we went to Erie as a team and went to the game, and McDavid didn't play. So the following season, he's still in Erie. This is before the 15 draft. We go to see the Erie Otters play the Kitchener Rangers, and Bailey is on the Rangers.
Okay.
And the family that it was just me and Owen and my buddy Tony and his son, Nicky. And we they had some ties to Bailey. Tony knew him somehow. And
sounds like everybody does.
Yeah, so we like I remember going working our way through the arena, getting to like the Zamboni doors and like the where their bus was inside, and they're waiting to get on the bus. And as he walked out to get on the bus, he came and shook hands with everybody, and it was nice for the kids. It was a big thrill for the kids. That game. It was McDavid played. And Bailey was the best player on the ice that night. I know he has not had the career McDavid had, but he had a hat trick and maybe scored in the shootout too, Bailey, that night. It was really great to watch. And he was, by then, I think, already a Sabres draft pick, if I remember correctly. Anyway, it was pretty cool.
Or did they trade for him?
Oh, I don't remember now. I can find that out easy enough.
I think Darcy traded for him.
Okay.
Is that possible?
Sure. It's possible. I might be wrong about the draft thing too, but I think he was older.
No, I'm wrong.
He was older than McDavid, and so McDavid hadn't been drafted yet, but I think Bailey was playing still in the OHL.
I'm wrong. He was a second-round pick by the Sabres.
Okay. What year?
13.
Okay, yeah, that definitely lines up then. He'd already been drafted.
He played 59 games for San Jose last year.
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, he's really ridden it out. Like he is really only had cups of coffee. And 59 games in a single season might be the most he had in his career in an NHL season.
Definitely.
But he's just stayed after it. Like that takes a lot. Like you're in the minors and like very rarely get your chance, and to keep going, it takes a lot, I think.
It's over for the Bills in the Super Bowl uniform rankings at Uniwatch. They made it into day 4 as Uniwatch.com counted backwards, reverse rankings of Super Bowl uniform matchups. And as we got to the top 23, only Bills-Giants had been named. The other 3 were still out there. Mm-hmm. But they were the first 3 listed today. It ended quickly. I got 3 bullets to get into the number 1 spot, but bam, bam, bam. Washington, second Dallas, first Dallas. First Dallas gets the nod correctly because it was outdoors and there was sunshine.
It's a good thing that those 2 Dallas games were right next to one another because it was the exact same uniform matchup 2 years in a row.
Yes.
It would have been weird if they had split those up somehow. Maybe this outdoor thing could have been a differentiator there, but I don't know.
There are a few of those Super Bowl rematches where the 2 teams wore the same uniforms, including this one. Kansas City in white and red pants, and in Philadelphia in green. That's the same uniforms they wore 2 years ago. Kansas City, San Francisco is one. Dallas, Buffalo is one. Dallas, Pittsburgh is 2 because they met 3 times, and the teams wore – Dallas wearing white kind of dominates this.
Right.
They wore the same uniforms in each of those games. So it's down to the top 10, but the Bills are dead. Would you have a number 1? You're not thinking about this.
No, I am.
Are you?
I thought about it yesterday when you brought it up, and I am thinking about it again. And I think, this is going to show my age. But I feel like Pittsburgh-Dallas is when I think if there was some way for you to hook me up to some machine that was going to read my thoughts, right? Like, what's the first thing that pops in your head when I say this to you? You say Super Bowl to me, I think my brain sees Pittsburgh and Dallas uniforms. I came of age then, whatever. I'm a little, it just made an impression. And those are big famous teams. They both have won many times. I feel like that is the image. You say Super Bowl to me, I see Pittsburgh in black and Dallas in white.
Yeah, sure. And they're all good. Like, they're all outdoor games. Super Bowl 10 is in bright sunshine, early afternoon in Miami, so you could pick your favorite. I think I might pick Super Bowl 1. Green Bay in green, Kansas City in white, all white.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great uniform. Those are two great uniforms. And the Coliseum.
I would need to. This is where you watching these NFL films productions really comes in handy.
Yeah,
because I know what their uniforms look like. I've seen footage of those games, of that game, but I don't like. It just doesn't have the same effect on me, like Pittsburgh and Dallas does. And a lot of that, some of that is even magazine covers. To me, like Sports Illustrated. Swan, you mentioned the game in Miami, the famous catches, like the cover of Sports Illustrated. I can remember looking at that in like the junior high library, at West Seneca. That's where I used to get Sports Illustrated. Like it was library time, free time, great. Where's Sports Illustrated? And Swan on the cover making that great juggling catch over, I don't know if it was Charlie Waters or Cliff Harris or Mark Washington. Wow.
On the sideline?
I'm trying to
midfield?
Midfield, yeah.
Okay.
I'm trying to name DBs here for Dallas, and I named the two most famous ones I could think of.
Washington is on the sideline. I don't know who's – maybe that is Waters at like midfield.
Yeah.
That might be Waters. Margot and I enjoyed Super Bowl 9 highlights today.
There were highlights of that game?
Yeah, well, yeah, the NFL films. Wallace was burned for the first and only time all day. In fact, if you go to Twitter right now, you'll see a picture of our watching Super Bowl 9 today.
Really?
Yeah, go.
I'm about to Google.
You're not on Twitter?
Well, no, I'm about to Google Lynn Swan SI cover because now I want to know who he's catching that pass over.
Okay. Yeah, we checked out some Super Bowl 9.
This is going to tell me. I can't make it big enough. Oh, I can't see the guy's number. He's on his back. The Dallas player's on his back with his hands up, and Swan is reaching for the ball over him, so I can't see who that is. Hollywood Henderson is in the background of the photo. I can see him there.
I mean, that's a pretty good pick for a great-looking Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Super Bowl 10. All right. Well, the UniWatch, there's a hyphen in the address, and they're doing a countdown all the way to number 1 with the top 10, I believe, that's left will be tomorrow. Sal coming up at 5. Sal wrote State of the Running Backs for the Bills. Interesting analysis from him. What they'll do, is it a James Cook extension now? Is it Ty Johnson leaving or being re-signed? Different challenges the Bills have at the running back position. We'll get into that and more with Sal coming up in about 20 minutes. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here at 803-0550. This is WGR.
This hour.
feels are gone. Fella stopped me on the street last night, said everything's alright. Roller coaster, make it through the day upright. It seems your meal ticket is gone, but life goes on. I could never imagine something better. Yeah, right. Now you're cooking on high heat in the middle of the street. Roller coaster, take me to a better time. Let's go. All sing your high line with the roller coaster of life. Yeah. It's time to all choose your timeline on the roller coaster of life. Oh, you seem to easily forget how to place your bet. When everyday life gets you down, you gotta steal the crown. Got to own it. Don't bitch and moan about it, please. God forbid you scrape your knees, and it's nothing to sneeze at. Oh, I've told you over and over again. You gotta get both hands around it and make your own plans. Roller coaster, it's taking over. It's about time. Oh, all sing your high line on the roller coaster of life. You've got to all choose your timeline with the roller coaster of life.
Caller 5 at 716-221-4WGR. That's 4947. Wins a pair of lawn tickets to see Luke Bryan with special guests George Burge, Owen Reigling, Randall King, and DJ Rock, all at Darien Lake Amphitheater August 30th. Tickets are on sale now at livenation.com. He thinks Josh Allen will win the night.
Well, I sure hope he's right.
I
don't have a strong. I don't.
Would enough people vote Jackson first team All-Pro, which he won by a lot, and then not Allen tonight? And we'll get to this with Sal too coming up. Tonight we redefine value, the word value. You know, like the argument for Allen is logical. Not as much to work with. I don't think he was bereft Offensive line was really good.
Yeah.
But not as much to work with, so you're more valuable. He was better. You're more valuable. That could be a distinction that gets made here.
Yeah.
Better season.
And I pivoted pretty quick. I mean, I thought he was in great shape. Then the All-Pro thing happened, and it's been since the 80s that the quarterback who was the first team All-Pro didn't win MVP. So, you might be in tough, and I guess I just hope still, I made this point then, that people, if the voting pool is not exactly the same, if there's enough crossover, or even if not, maybe the people who voted for the All-Pro said, I'll bet Jackson's not going to get MVP. It sounds like Allen's the favorite for that. So he's had a great year. He had a better year statistically. That you can make an argument that should be your All-Pro quarterback. There's nothing about value in the All-Pro voting. So who was the best? Who had the best season? That guy. All right, who's more valuable? Yeah, well, Jackson's got 9 Pro Bowlers on his team. Allen had originally 2. There's a couple more that are replacements here, and McGovern and James Cook. I still think you can make the case, and I guess I hope that the voters feel, enough of them feel similar. Because it is, Joe made the point, it's a lot like last year, except the roles are reversed. Like Allen had statistically a much better year. There were the giveaways, but overall, everything was better. But Jackson had the better year, the better team result, all that. All of that is flipped this year. So I guess I just hope that the voters sort of use the same criteria they did last year, and that'll spit out an Allen result.
There was the head-to-head game, which was the Bills' worst game this year on offense, was the Baltimore game. Otherwise, yeah, it really is kind of the opposite. 1987, John Elway, your buddy, won the MVP. Would Montana, who was third in that, been the All-Pro, first-team All-Pro? I think it was him. Probably was him. That year, by the way, 1987, strike year, they did apparently have NFL AP Defensive Rookie of the Year. And 2 players got votes from what I'm seeing at Pro Football Reference, and they were both Bills.
Bennett? Oh, I don't know who the other one is.
Conlon.
Okay.
Conlon won.
Wow. All right.
Bennett was second. No one else is listed. Defensive Rookie of the Year, 1987. Coach of the Year, Jim Mora. Marv got 1 vote. The Bills are 7-8.
Right, Marv
gets a vote for that.
Of the year?
He was close the next year too, but didn't win. Ditka won in 88. Troy Stradford beat out Bo Jackson for Offensive Rookie of the Year, Miami running back. Reggie White, Defensive Player of the Year ahead of Bruce. Offensive Player of the Year, Jerry Rice. MVP, Elway, Rice, Montana.
And it's right. Maybe you'll have the year note right off the top of your head. Thurman won MVP in 91. That's the last Bills player to win the MVP.
And Kelly was second in 91.
How times have changed.
Yeah. Thurman won the MVP and the Offensive Player of the Year that year.
Yeah. Over his quarterback.
Yeah. Well, Barkley won't get shut out.
No, I don't think so. I don't think he's going to win it, but yeah, I guess maybe there's a scenario where, how many votes are there? Where Allen and Jackson split votes and enough people vote for Barkley that, he wins by 1 vote or something. I mean, that could happen, I suppose.
That's what I thought could happen as the season was drawing to an end. That if Barkley breaks that record, there will be voters who take exception to, well, it's just a quarterback award, and use a historic season to push back against that. It didn't happen because he didn't play the last week, and I'm not sure the same voters would dock him for that. And it's not playoffs. I mean, he's had a monster playoffs too in the NFC Championship game, but I've decided to take the overs on Barkley Sunday, which it's 115 yards or something.
Right. What about the long run thing? Are you in on that at all?
24?
Yeah.
Not yet.
Okay. Just curious. Like Joe and Sam have both mentioned this guy, and I think Joe mentioned his name again today. Their prop guy, yeah. And I think that's the guy I've seen talking like it's a lock under.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard, maybe we talked about this.
Yeah.
I think that guy, Charchian, invented the Guillotine League format.
Wow.
I think that's him.
What a legend.
He's well-rounded.
Yeah.
Betting and fantasy. I don't say that sarcastically. I mean it. Sal Capaccio after sports. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here, WGR.
Caller.
We've been living in sin so long, all the fields are gone. Fella stopped me on the street last night, said everything's alright. Roller coaster, make it through the day, I'm right. It seems your meal ticket is
NFL honors are tonight as regular season awards will be handed out down in New Orleans. 3 Buffalo Bills are finalists: quarterback Josh Allen for league MVP, safety DeMar Hamlin for comeback player of the year, and offense coordinator Joe Brady for assistant coach of the year. That event will begin at 8 p.m. over on Fox and NFL Network. And the Bills also have some coaching news, as reportedly former Jags and Falcons defensive coordinator Ryan Nielsen is joining the Bills as a senior defensive assistant. We'll get more on that as coming up next, Sal Capaccio joins the show. Following the awards tonight at 9 p.m., the 2025 NFL Hall of Fame class will also be announced. That is also going to be over on Fox and NFL Network. Finalists that are headlined by the likes of quarterback Eli Manning, wide receiver Steve Smith, tight end Antonio Gates, and linebacker Terrell Suggs, of course, among others. Some other news in the NFL. Chicago Bears owner Virginia McCaskey did die today at the age of 102. She's the daughter of team founder George Halas and has owned the team since his death in 1983. And then in college hoops, the Niagara Purple Eagles are just outside of Boston tonight. They take on Merrimack with tip-off scheduled for 7, and you can listen to that game right here on WGR. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of business. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Oh, glad to hear that, as I am so back on SNL. Well, it's not like the live shows as much, but it's the 50th year, and they have made these excellent documentaries about the history of the show, and I'm eating them up. There's the music one. You and I watched some of that together. There's one on different cast members and their auditions. There's an entire, almost hour-long documentary on the cowbell sketch. That's great. One on the writers, what that's like. One on the 1985 season where they almost got canceled. And that really is amazing, like how the show handled that. And then the next year they come back and it's Dana Carvey and Phil Hartman and Jan Hooks. And like Kevin Nealon,
like
everybody's new.
Maybe the second great era of the show. Is that
the
appropriate way to put it? Yeah.
So there's Dana Carvey right there, and Kevin Nealon in that clip. Sal Capaccio. Sal, are you or have you ever been an SNL guy?
Yeah, for sure. I think I lost touch with it though. Probably maybe a little after college years. Maybe early 2000s. It's into that, but after college years. Maybe when I was down in Florida, I guess, when I moved down there a little bit. Didn't watch it as much, but even as a kid, the old school stuff. I'm a big Eddie Murphy fan, Chevy Chase, that era. And I wasn't really, I think just kind of, seeing some of the reruns or whatever when I was a kid, watching that and then getting into it. And then the Weekend Update with, who am I thinking of now? The guy who's a comedian and... I actually saw him in one time. I don't know. I can't even think of his name now.
Dennis Miller?
I used to live for the Weekend Update for a while. What is it?
Dennis Miller?
Might have been Dennis Miller, yes. It might have been Dennis Miller. But I used to really like that stuff, of course, yes. Yep. And then I think, every once in a while when it's on, I'll still watch. And then they have these reruns now. And Saturdays at like 10 o'clock or something, it comes on. And I'll be like, oh, okay, this is cool. And I'll kind of get into it then.
Maybe you're thinking of Norm Macdonald, too. He had a long stint as the
I think that was
as the host of Weekend Update. Chevy Chase originally, but that's predating you.
I did like Dennis Miller, though, for a while. And then he went on Monday Night Football, of course. That, right?
Yeah.
I watched a new episode earlier this season. It's still, it was then, I guess, early in the season, Martin Short and Hosier. And I loved every minute of it. And I did not expect to. I feel like it's going to have to be the classics for me. But I watched a new one this year. I thought it was great. Like every sketch was great. So maybe you'd like it again if you ended up that late on a Saturday.
A lot of great memories watching it. I can remember watching that show as a kid with my dad. and the musical guests, like the famous Elvis Costello first appearance when he replaced the Sex Pistols. I was watching that with my dad. I remember my dad, like, just, why is he standing like that? Elvis Costello had this very awkward, like his knees bent in, knock-kneed looking with the guitar, and my dad just thought that was weird. I watched The Clash on Saturday Night Live with my dad, and I always sort of felt like Saturday night was like a night for him to have a couple of beers, sitting around the house, watching TV, and I could feel him biting his tongue watching these things that he knew I loved, and he was just like, what is this going on here?
I have to not hate this outwardly.
Do not criticize this. My kid likes this. I'm trying to be supportive. Just really fun stuff.
Yeah. Well, good thing for that show that it's not on tonight because we have NFL honors.
Right.
We'll definitely not be watching anything else. Sal, people have become fatigued with the Chiefs and the Super Bowl stuff, in places, and the MVP discourse did that for some people this year too. Like, enough already about it. And I don't think I got bored with it, but it's always kind of it can be interesting, but it's also like the struggle, I guess, to define the word valuable. And I think tonight, based on what happens, is the next effort to maybe redefine the word. Because the argument for Allen seems to be based on not as much talent around him, which that even can be debated. But I think that's his path to winning, with Jackson having been kind of by a wide margin first-team All-Pro. How do you see it?
Yeah, so the tea leaves read towards the voting that it would be Lamar Jackson, right? We have him as the first-team All-Pro. He was also the MVP for the Pro Football Writers Association, and I'm sure many of them, vote on this. Although I don't think it's exactly the same voters, because I think for the MVP, like, for example, I remember being in New England, maybe the end of the year, whichever game it was, and Aditi Kinkawabla said, we were talking, and she told me she had an MVP vote. And I don't think she votes for All-Pro, though, AP All-Pro, right? So I think there's quite a few. I think Dan Orlovsky has an MVP vote. I don't know if he votes for AP All-Pro. So my point is, you do have some crossover, and you have the tea leaves here pointing towards Lamar. However, and that has been very. I looked it up today. The Pro Football Writers Association, the last time their MVP differed from the AP MVP, 2003, was Manning and McNair shared it, and Jamal Lewis won it for the Pro Football Writers Association. So it would certainly be a departure. However, I think this is one of those years where maybe you could see people saying, I'm going to give first-team All-Pro because of the stats and the numbers to Lamar, but I do think the value lies in Josh Allen. That's, I think, the path to it, because that's really been it. No one, even Bills fans, aren't going to tell you Josh Allen deserves it because of the numbers.
Right.
Really, they're going to say because of the value, because last year he had the numbers over Lamar, but Lamar was the value.
Right.
Interesting that Jamal Lewis, you had a tie, and it was neither guy.
Right.
Right.
It was wild. And then the last time a running back won it, do you guys know? You guys know the last time a running back won the MVP?
Peterson.
What's that? Yeah, you got it, 2012. So it's going to be a quarterback again this year. It's not going to be Saquon Barkley, obviously, even though I think Saquon will get Offensive Player of the Year. But, it's funny. You could also make an argument for Lamar for Offensive Player of the Year, and then Josh gets MVP, right? I think there's a lot of ways this could go. I mean, if I had to guess right now, simply because of the way it's trending, I would say Lamar Jackson. But I do think this is one of those unique years where the word value has become such a hot topic of this particular award this year as compared to most years where it's like, oh my God, that dude was off the charts and his team was amazing, so we're giving it to him.
And there's no question, if this is obviously known and I'm an idiot for asking, so be it. But, like, these candidates are all there, right? Like, Allen's going to be at this event in case he wins, right?
That's a good question. I don't know. I have not seen him on Radio Row this week.
All right.
Have you guys?
No.
Like, doing any, heard any interviews? I have also not seen or heard Lamar Jackson on Radio Row, so it could be, he very well could be. I'm guessing you would want your finalists there, and they would understand and know that. Josh was there after the 13 seconds game in 2021 when he was, I don't even remember if he was a finalist that year, but that's when he was in the crowd and he made that kind of joke or quip about the overtime rules, right?
Yeah.
So he was there at the show that night. So I'm really not sure if Josh Allen's going to be there. My guess is all the finalists will be, but I don't know.
I have seen Barkley this week.
Yes.
Down there. So
he's in New Orleans.
Will he go to the event though? Like he's got a game to play on Sunday. I wonder if he'd go to the event. Probably could figure out a way to do it. We'll see. We'll see. Have you thought to consider Joe Brady's chances to win in his category? I don't know how I would start to do that, but I don't know. Maybe you've thought about it.
Yeah, I mean, I went through the awards today on Extra Point Show and just kind of said who I thought would win every award and maybe who I said who I would vote for. I would vote for Ben Johnson, I think. I mean, he actually is the one assistant coach who had the higher offensive output than Joe Brady, and I just think that the things he did, the creativity was just amazing. I know that they were in the NFC Championship game last year, so it's kind of, they have both their DC and their OC up for this award, and both of them now have moved on to head coaching jobs, by the way, right. Aaron Glenn. I think Joe Brady would probably get, he deserves consideration because he's in the top 5 here, but this is a pretty stacked group. I mean, you got Vic Fangio, who is now in the Super Bowl, with the Philadelphia Eagles, obviously, there this week. Brian Flores might have won this award if it was, week 10. I think over the last, you get towards the end of the year, maybe the luster off him kind of goes away a little bit. But I think Joe Brady, would be considered by some, but I think both of the Detroit guys are probably going to be considered more.
I think you can make the same argument that you make for Josh over Lamar for MVP for Brady, right? Less to work with, but he's got the quarterback. The quarterback is an MVP finalist. That probably dings Brady's candidacy because he's got that, not that Jared Goff wasn't great and could have been an MVP candidate himself. But still, I feel like having Allen is sort of the same thing that kind of disqualifies McDermott. It's like, well, sure, you didn't have this or that, but you got that guy, and that guy's a cheat code. We all know it.
Yeah, what's funny to me is, and I don't disagree with what you just said, but here's Andy Reid as a finalist again, right? Why? Because they lost one game, I guess, or 2 games at the end of the year, and yet he's got Patrick Mahomes. And I don't know. I think Sean McDermott should certainly have been considered in a finalist here in the top 5. Dan Campbell had Jared Goff, who played like an MVP. Kevin O'Connell had Sam Darnold, who played like an MVP. Now, they're not regarded as the same, I get it, as Mahomes or Allen, but you think about, the quarterback years that these guys had, and then there's Dan Quinn, who did an excellent job with a rookie quarterback, and I think that he deserves to be here as well. I think I would vote for Kevin O'Connell out of this list for Coach of the Year.
Me too.
I just think what he did after pivoting, I thought they'd be bad. Like when the Bills got their second-round pick in the Diggs trade, I'm like, oh my God, we're going to be dialed in on them. They might have the worst team in the league this year. I was very wrong about that. I think a lot of people were wrong. What they did after, and maybe they would have not even been as good with J.J. McCarthy. They probably wouldn't have been as good with J.J. McCarthy, a rookie. But having to pivot from him after this plan they had to Sam Darnold and him doing what he did, I would give it to Kevin O'Connell.
What do you think, if anything, holds McDermott back in this stuff? I mean, you've made the point already here about the other, top quarterbacks teams and how they're, that's kind of the thing. Like the coach doesn't get quite the same amount of credit, and maybe that's generally right. But John Harbaugh has won. He won this award when Jackson won his first in the same year. They won. And here's Reed. I don't know. Is there something about McDermott? Plus this year, they had losses on defense. They had losses with Diggs, And there was a lot said and written about McDermott kind of having a new style, mellowing some, and, snow angels and everything. It didn't come, though. It seems like it didn't come.
It's a good question. I don't know. Here are a couple of guesses from me. A lot of times these things start to really, you dig in on people after a good month, 5 weeks. Bills were sitting at 2-2. They had to go to the Jets. They won a Monday night game, go to 3-2. Like after winning 2 games, they lose 2 games, and I think there were a lot of people, or was it 3-3? I'm sorry, whatever it was.
3-0 to 3-2 to 4-2.
Thank you. 3-2. Thank you. So they lose a couple games. You're 5 weeks in, and I think there's a little, you know what? Oh, here comes the downward spiral for the Bills, which didn't happen, but I think you have to recover from that, which was tough actually for Josh to be back in this conversation after the Houston game, which I thought that he might have really hurt his chances so early. I also think, now granted, Andy Reid's playing in a division that's not that good, but I think the division and how weak it is hurt Sean McDermott this year. I think there's a lot of people, a lot of voters who looked and went, oh, what, come on, you got the Jets in Miami, New England? Like, yeah, well, you should win 10 games in his sleep. And he does have Josh Allen. I don't think all that's right or fair, but my guess is that's part of it, that some of those things are part of the reason why.
You clinch your division on December 1st. You had a pretty easy go of it.
Yeah, it's like almost what'd you have to do? You just had to kind of keep the train on the tracks, right? You didn't really have to be the coach of the year. I still think he did an amazing job this year for this team. This team, Mike Catalana was on with me the other day on the Extra Point Show, and I agree. Mike said, when you take a step back and look at the big picture, about a year ago and into last offseason, they were probably not expecting to have the year they had this year. Going into last year, sure, there's always faith. We have Josh Allen. We could be good. We'll be competitive. But I think in their heart of hearts, they probably figured, you know what? This might be a year where we're going to have to really work at it to get there, and we're not going to be as good. And they had a better year than expected. I think Coach of the Year, maybe wrongly, I know, it generally does, and I think I've heard maybe you guys talk about this, where too often it goes to a guy that does more with less. But I do think that's part of the equation. Like when you don't have as talented of a team and you win, I think it speaks a lot about what you did as a coach to navigate through that.
Yeah, the more with less, and did we think you were going to be any good? If we thought you weren't going to be any good,
that's correct.
And you end up being good, the coach must have done. Look at the wizardry at work here.
Because I couldn't be wrong.
Right. Of course, I knew what the hell I was talking about in August.
Yeah,
that's what I don't like about it. Sal Capaccio on the Wester Hotline wrote today, the state of the running backs, your annual series going by position groups. It doesn't begin and end quite with James Cook, but his getting a contract extension, that topic will probably be pretty hot, don't you think?
Yeah, so it's funny. Yesterday I wrote about quarterbacks, and today I write about running backs. And honestly, the only real big question with both positions is if a contract extension is coming for both guys. Josh Allen at the quarterback position and James Cook at the running back position. Since we're talking about running backs, so James Cook is eligible now for a contract extension. The way it works in the NFL, when you sign a 4-year rookie deal after being drafted, you cannot even get an extension until after your third year is complete. After that, you can sign an extension. You don't have to, though. And I've read and seen a lot of people, Bills fans, thinking, oh, my God, you got to go out and extend this guy and do whatever it takes. And that's fine. I think James Cook is a fine player that you want to have for a long time. His value is pretty high right now as well. Yep. It might cost you a little more than you want, but there's also no rush. You don't have to do it. I mean, there are mechanisms to keep him in Buffalo, even the franchise tag, which might be higher than you want. But if he goes out and plays like he did last year again in year 4, you do that. I don't think you ever want to get it necessarily to there. If he wants to stay, that can get a little messy. But I don't think you have to be in a super big rush. It's got to work out for both sides, and I think Brandon Beane should take the more diligent approach here.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. It gets harder and harder, I think, watching him score all these touchdowns and have the year he had. I do think he improved, his own play, his style of play. I think he was more powerful. I think he was faster, just by a touch. He got to the edge on plays this year that last year it always surprised me. Oh, wow. He did work. And so he gets full credit for that. But, man, off of the season he just had, I'm definitely okay, let's see if we get that out of you again, and then we'll have a tough call to make. And maybe the price goes up if he does it a second year in a row, like he did last year. But, man, I don't want to negotiate off of that season he just had if I'm the Bills.
Yeah, I mean, he has a cap number next year of $5.5 million. You could sign an extension and lower that, but it might be tough to lower that. That's not very high, honestly, for the kind of extension that he might get. So you'd probably have to go up even from that cap number. And here's the trick again. Are you willing to let him go into his 4th year with his final year of his contract? And again, the team still has control at some point. You have now he doesn't have a 5th year because he wasn't a first-round pick. Obviously, they couldn't exercise that. But then they could go transition tag, they could go franchise tag, or you have faith in we'll just eventually get it done, which is always tricky, obviously. And then, did you guys know I was doing the research today when I was writing this article? James Cook is only 6 weeks older than Ray Davis.
Yeah,
he's 6 weeks older than Ray Davis. That's wild, right?
Yeah,
I knew Ray Davis a little bit. He was older, but. Ray Davis has a complimentary backup. I think they really like him. Ty Johnson, what he did as a 3rd down back, they certainly like him. He is also a free agent. I like this running back room. I think this running back room is really set up to be very good for the next several years if they can get Ty Johnson back, but you can get other 3rd down backs. But the point I'm making is James Cook's obviously the number 1 guy. I think they feel very good about where everything is. I don't think you're looking to just have Ray Davis take over the number 1 role 2 years from now, but this is also a position where the Bills have been pretty good about how they've handled it with their number one guys and understanding how to replenish.
But what they've never had is a guy that had a season like Cook just had. Really even last year, right? I mean, Singletary never approached that type of output. So, yeah, I wonder, Sal, like how much should the team, in your opinion, I'm not even sure how I would answer this question, but I'm going to try it on you, see what you say. How much should the team take into account the player feeling like, dude, I'm eligible for an extension. Did you see that season I just had? Come on, right? Like, could it be bad for not just Cook being, bummed out about it and having to understand that it's a business and all that sort of stuff, but even within the team, right? Like, you performed, therefore you should get rewarded. And I wonder if that's tricky at all.
I'm sure it is. You also have his brother who understands the business side and has been through things like this, I guess, over his career, tweeting out something like he's worth $20 million a year or whatever it was. You might have seen it. I was at the game, obviously, in Kansas City on the field. I'd read or heard somebody say afterwards, his brother tweeted out after that touchdown, $20 million a year. Like, I don't think that's the kind of money you're going to give James Cook. I think the Bills would probably walk away from something like that. Yes. That's very, that's huge. Right. But, right. But I mean, when you have people in your ear and surrounding you, telling you how much you're worth like that, I think you have to think about, if hey, I want to get this done, and then the Bills come and say, well, we don't want to do that. What does that look like? The part of the tricky part for the Bills here, and I say tricky, but it's also it's a good problem to have, which is they have like 4 guys who are going into their 4th year who are very good that you could make an argument for need extensions. James Cook, Christian Benford, Terrell Bernard, and Khalil Shakir. They're all eligible for extensions, and if any of them don't get it, they're going into the final year of their contract. So Brandon Bede's got some juggling to do with all of this.
Yeah, and Rousseau's going into the 5th year option, which is the final 100%, year of his contract.
That's right.
Too. So
it's a great point. I still believe there's, to me, you're doing something with that number. I mean, of all those guys, let's add him into it, Bulldog. Of all those guys, if you said who's the least likely to actually go into his 4th year without some sort of deal or something happening, I think it's that, or the final year. I think it's that one because of the number already on the books for him. And I think that's the probably best and easiest one that you can just lower right away with giving him an extension.
I think they'll want to keep every one of these guys and have to figure out a way to do it and pay them, because this is when you would do that and how. So I think that would be my prediction. I'm not sure we'll talk tomorrow. What do you think happens Sunday?
I heard you yesterday, Mike, say you talked yourself into Philly winning. I don't think I'm quite there yet because I'll use Bulldog's word, inevitable. I just feel like it's inevitable that the Chiefs win this game all the time, right? We've seen this movie all week after week, and they wind up winning. And something happens where, well, they just had this great game plan, and they did Ring Around the Rosie, and they couldn't stop it, or whatever it is. I don't know.
Right.
I mean, it comes down to the last, couple drives, and the Eagles haven't fixed, they haven't really had a great kicking game all year, but here comes Harrison Butker, and it just feels like it's inevitable. So I think that's what happens. I think that inevitably the Chiefs find a way to win. I do think it's going to be a good game, though. Sure, you could see a blowout. We've seen that throughout the years in the Super Bowl. That's just what happens. Things start to snowball like that. I do think the way is, though, that you have to – Saquon Barkley has to control this game. And the way that the Chiefs have been a little leaky on run defense, not necessarily against the Bills. There were times that James Cook started to get the ball going. We know that. But even the week before that against Houston and Joe Mixon, I do think that it's possible that the Eagles could really run on them.
You always got to worry about if you're playing him. We just saw this again, a couple weeks ago. Reed having something in the bag, right? When these two teams met in the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, the Tony touchdown and was it Hardman was the other one that were Sky Moore. Thank you, Mike. These walk-in touchdowns off of a motion that they notice, like the guy's not going to double back if we do this, and holy cow! It seems so easy when you look back at it, but. There it was. There was a tell. He found it and waited until a moment and sprang it on 2 different sides of the field in the same game. And the Eagles walked right into the trap both times. So that guy is just at another level, it feels like.
I think it's harder the second time. Different coordinator, more experienced.
Right.
I remember thinking of this about Andy Reid even before he was winning Super Bowls. Do you guys remember the game? They came to Buffalo. It was really close. But the guy had the fumble. Brown had the fumble by the Bills at the goal line.
Yeah, yep.
Right? Okay, this game, I think this is the same game. I think. Maybe I'm thinking the same game. Anyway, late in that game, the Bills kind of controlled that game. And I remember thinking, you guys can look up the year, whatever game this was. It's 4th down. Bills have them. The Bills are about to kind of win the game. The Chiefs have like a 4th and 2, 4th and 3, and they go for it. And they run this play where they flick the ball out to Jamal Charles, who runs for like a 25-yard touchdown. Doesn't even get the first down. He goes for a touchdown. And I'm like, that dude was saving that play the whole game. Like, he was saving that play the whole game. Like, this has been Andy Reid his whole life, actually. And go back to Philly. I know he didn't win a Super Bowl. He went to several, 3, 4 championship games. And it's just kind of, he's one of the best ever.
It's the day of the 716 opening party. And,
is that what that game was?
Oh, yeah.
And we were all going to the party, and especially wanted the Bills to win because all the Bills were going to be at the party. I remember talking to C.J. Spiller, like, this is a little awkward.
Yep.
But, yes, that was that game, 2014. That's how long ago that was.
That's right. That's my first year on the sidelines. That's right.
Okay. Thank you, Sal. Enjoy your weekend.
All right, you too, guys. Thanks a lot.
All right, it's our dude Sal Capaccio on the West Her Hotline, and his appearances are always brought to you by New York's only outlet, Liquor. When you need to stock up, it's the place to buy a case. What's your outlet?
I know it's Thursday, by the way. Enjoy your weekend. Maybe sounded premature.
I know, but you had already
we're
said previous that you didn't think we'd talk to him tomorrow, so that makes sense.
Travis Kelce, in this 2014 Bills-Chiefs game, went 2 for 14, or 2 for 19. Didn't he just do the exact same thing? 2 for 19. Wasn't that the line last week?
Yes, it was.
2 for 19, both games.
Yep.
And they own that guy. They've always owned that guy, Travis Kelce.
Oh, he can't.
He's never had a good
never
game
hurt
against
us.
the Bills.
Yeah,
he's never hurt us.
Yeah.
What were we worried about? All the way back to 2014.
Yep.
Held him in check. 803-0550. I mentioned before an Andrew Filipponi tweet about the Steelers and the Super Bowl that got me thinking about the Bills a little bit. Let's give you that next. Maybe you have a thought on James Cook and money, some of the topics we've been into. Let us know. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here. Paul Hamilton at 6. This is WGR.
You scrape your knees, and it's nothing to sneeze at. Oh, I've told you over and over again. You gotta get both hands around it and make your own plans. Roller coaster, it's taking over. It's about time. Oh, sing your high line on the roller coaster of life. You've got to all choose your timeline with the roller coaster of life. Roller coaster. I want to go down the rabbit hole, down the rabbit hole of life. And now it's about to leave. Oh, roller coaster. Oh, roller coaster.
tonight as regular season awards are handed out down in New Orleans. 3 Buffalo Bills are finalists. Quarterback Josh Allen for league MVP, safety Damar Hamlin for comeback player of the year, and offense coordinator Joe Brady for assistant coach of the year. That event will get underway at 8 p.m. over on Fox and NFL Network. And sticking with the NFL honors, following the awards being handed out at 9 p.m., the 2025 NFL Hall of Fame class will also be announced, headlined by the likes of quarterback Eli Manning, wide receiver Steve Smith, tight end Antonio Gates, and linebacker Terrell Suggs, of course, among others. And then some Bills coaching news, as reportedly former Jags and Falcons defensive coordinator Ryan Nielsen is joining the Bills as a senior defensive assistant. Some other notes in the NFL. Chicago Bears owner Virginia McCaskey died today at the age of 102. She's the daughter of team founder George Halas and has owned the team since his death in 1983. And then in college hoops, Niagara Purple Eagles are just outside of Boston tonight. They take on Merrimack, tipped off scheduled for just after 7 o'clock, and you can listen to that game right here on WGR. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of business. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Garrett, I think, has 4 elite years ahead of him and is a complete difference maker. If I could get that done with this year's 1 and next year's 1 and then a player, I would do that tomorrow.
Daniel Jeremiah? I think.
I don't know. I was too excited about what you just said before we turned the mic.
I know. Sorry, I wanted to tell you that earlier.
It's okay.
We started Severance. I didn't. I have to watch it again. It's one of those.
It's a bit of a worm. Like it takes a little bit to get you. But then when it gets you, man, it's just, whoa.
It looks great.
It really is. It's one of my favorite TV shows I've ever watched. And I have not even started season 2 yet because I'm waiting for more episodes to show up before I start. I'm rewatching season 1 because it took 3 years. I thought, this is a show I think I want to. I read a recap. I got time. I'm gonna watch it all again.
It took you 3 years to finish?
No. No, it took them 3 years to make season 2. Season 1 ended in 22, and it took them until now to get around to season 2 coming out.
And it's not all the way out, though.
Right. It's all made, but they're releasing 1 episode every Friday. So there's maybe 4 or 5 of them out now. And I don't know how far they'll go, how many. I think season 1 only had 9. So I don't know how long season 2 will go, but I'm waiting for them all to be there.
It's not going to take me that long to catch up.
No.
If there's only 9.
Right. I think that's right. I think there's 9.
If I may, Andrew Filipponi earlier tweeted his top 5 Steelers Super Bowl moments.
Mm-hmm.
What are the top 5 Bills Super Bowl moments? Are there 5 that we like?
I think we could certainly get to 5, even though the games all went, to varying degrees, not the way you wanted. I'm really not trying to be funny. For me, what honestly popped into my head, because I saw the tweet from Andrew and I had a feeling this was what you were going to mention. So you didn't exactly get to spring it on me. But in Super Bowl 25, Matt Cavanaugh warming up is one of my favorite moments.
So that's pretty early, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's Leon Seals lands on Hostetler. There's a famous photo of Hostetler just absolutely getting, Seals leaves his feet and just engulfs Hostetler. And, this is most of the rules about roughing the quarterback. Full weight of the body,
definitely.
Just like body slammed. I mean, Andre the Giant style. Just clobbers Hostetler. And
after he'd thrown the ball.
Right. And it looks bad for Hostetler. And I remember seeing Cavanaugh warming up on the side. I'm like, oh my God, we got it. And that stupid Cheektowaga Jeff with his stupid pizzeria manager mustache came back out there. And that was that. So
that's the first time I've heard that.
That's what we used to call him back at. We were working at a pizza place that bordered on Cheektowaga, so we had squatters' rights on that kind of phrasing. That was a moment. I swear, like, it literally was the first thing that came to mind. Thurman's run was obviously great. The drive to get in position, even the field goal that ended up being no good. There were some really great moments.
What's this now?
But for me, top 5, Kavanaugh warming up would be on the list.
Kavanaugh. I never knew that one.
I
did, but I haven't thought about it.
I'm pretty sure number 12.
Single digits.
Yeah.
I want to say.
All right.
Not sure.
I don't know if YouTube's going to have footage of Matt Kavanaugh warming up on the sidelines. I doubt that's out there.
I want to say 9.
I don't think I can Google that and call it up.
The Bills punted on 4th and 2 or less 3 times?
Sure they did. It was 1990.
It was.
Or 91, technically.
First possession.
Not even technically.
How egregious would this be now? First possession, 4th and 1 at their 43, punt. A minute into the game. Oh. They had a 4th and 1 at the 50, leading 10-3 in the second quarter. This might be your Kavanaugh moment. Don Smith touchdown, Giants 3 and out. Thurman for 14, then for 4. Giants go offside to make it 3rd and 1 at the 50. Kelly to Reed, incomplete punt. Punt to the 7. That's when the safety happens off of that.
Right. That's also...
So at least you had the safety.
I think the moment... Well, you didn't know it at the time. Like, you see the play, you're hoping Hostetler's going to drop the ball in the end zone and you're going to get a touchdown instead of a safety. I don't think so that moment the play happens, you don't know how close that actually came to be. It's replay after you see Bruce's hand on Hostetler's wrist. The ball, the hand he's got the ball in, Bruce puts the meat hook right on that wrist and is just holding it, and Hostetler somehow manages to hold on to that football. That was a moment.
Safety. Was a moment. Bills 3 and out after the safety. No yards gained. 3 incomplete passes. All right. Giants 3 and out.
Should have fed Thurman.
Well, yeah. Giants 3 and out again. And the Bills drive to the 44 of the Giants, leading 12-3 with 4 minutes to go in the half, and had 4th and 2 at the Giants 44 and punted. Now that's like a field goal.
Right.
Man, first half they punted on 4th and 1 or 2 3 times, all from the middle of the field.
Yeah, 43 midfield and their 40 something. Right? Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Oh, that is egregious.
That is tough.
Giants touchdown. Bills take a knee halftime. Giants touchdown. I mean, it's not the double up or the double dip everybody's obsessed with, but it is. I'm sure that's out there, in real time.
Yeah.
How long it was between more than the one.
Oh my
Kelly
God!
kneel down.
Well, that giant drive to open the second half is 9 minutes
almost. Or about 9 minutes.
Now, the one at the end of the first half couldn't have been as long because you said the Bills punted with less than 5 minutes to go. So
right, but it's 10 plays.
Yeah,
and that's a Baker touchdown.
Right, Stephen Baker, the touchdown.
That's
maker.
Tally, or
that plays in the second half? I'm pretty sure. Maybe it's on the drive that led to that play in my head is in the second half.
Okay, that's right. It's on the other touchdown drive. It's Ingram.
Yeah,
3rd and 13. It's not a touchdown. I haven't thought about this game in a long time. Ingram for 14, where he broke all the tackles.
Yeah, do you remember talking to Darryl Talley one time? Said we one of us, I might have been me, I don't remember, brought up that play.
It wouldn't have been me.
Something about it, and he was just like, "Do I think about it? I had him 3 times. I had 3 shots at him, short of the first down, and then couldn't get him. Do I think about it? Something to that effect." Is what he said. Yeah, I've thought about it. Thanks for asking, Bulldog. Yeah, man.
The Bills stopped Anderson on a 4th and 2 at their own 30, at the Bills 35, just outside of field goal range.
Look at that edgy Parcells.
Yeah, he knew what to do, and he didn't get it. So, had they lost, I'm sure that would have been talked about. Yep. But who even remembers this now?
Why didn't you take the points?
Take the points. The Thurman touchdown to start the fourth quarter would be my number 1 Bills Super Bowl moment ever. What else would top it?
Tasker blocking the punt in Los Angeles.
I like it, but 7-0.
Yeah.
Like, you can taste it right here.
Yeah.
This has been a great game. The Giants are good enough to beat you, but Thurman busts that run, and so on.
Yeah.
Then you get another 7-minute Giant drive, a Bills punt, a Giants punt, and then Norwood. Each half ended on a kneel down. I wonder if you could bet that.
You should be able to. Why?
I want to bet it for this game now.
Oh,
Can I go bet that somewhere?
I don't think it works that way.
How many halves? What percentage of halves end with a kneel down? 20? More? Higher?
I think higher.
Closer to half? Half the halves?
Yes. Closer to that. 40%, I'm going to say.
I'm going to look that up. I'm
Okay.
going to look up this Bill season. How many of the 34 halves? What playoffs will make it 40? Nice even number. How many halves ended on a kneel down? Paul Hamilton coming up at 6. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here, WGR.
This
We've been living in sin so long, all the feels are gone. Fella stopped me on the street last night, said everything's alright. Roller coaster, make it through the day upright. It seems your meal ticket is gone, but life goes on. I could never imagine something better. Yeah, right. Now you're cooking on high heat in the middle of the street. Roller coaster, take me to a better time. Let's go. All sing your high line with the roller coaster of life. Yeah. It's time to all choose your timeline on the roller coaster of life. You seem to easily forget how to place your bet. When everyday life gets you down, you gotta steal the crown. Got to own it. Don't bitch and moan about it, please. God forbid you scrape your knees, and it's nothing to sneeze at. Oh, I've told you over and over again. You gotta get it's about time. Oh, sing your highline on the roller coaster of life. You've got to all choose your timeline with the roller coaster of life. Roller coaster. I want to go down the rabbit hole, down the rabbit hole of life. And now it's about to leave. Oh, roller coaster. Roller coaster.
Challenge was top 5 Bills Super Bowl moments, and we kind of got to 2.
Oh, I had 2 on my own over here.
Okay, let's go back. That's right. The Giant game, earlier in the Giant game.
Matt Cavanaugh
Makes the
warming
list.
up.
That's right.
Bruce, safety, hand around the wrist of Hostetler. Those were the only 2 I mentioned. I mentioned Tasker's block punt against the Cowboys.
Yep, that's right.
Those 3 would be on my list because, honestly, after this Cavanaugh and Thurman's run would definitely be on my list too. But after the first one, because it was close, the others weren't competitive really eventually. I barely can visualize any of the plays
I got
from
one,
those other 3 games. I don't have them filed away.
I got one that I bet if we did a poll, it would win.
Oh, well, sure. The BB on Leon Lett?
Yeah. Right?
Yeah, I can't even – I can see that play, but like no. I mean, favorite plays? You prevented a guy from making it 60-17 or whatever the hell that would have made the score.
You know
like,
the speech.
I know.
It reflected everything they were really about.
Yeah, I know.
Sure it did.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it did. It did say it was cool.
It was. And I admire it. It's not one of my favorite plays.
You're already too mad.
Yeah, I mean, you're just, yeah.
Which, is part of why people love it.
Yeah.
Because they were down so bad and he still makes the
went
effort.
after it. Yeah. Again, highly admirable. I am not at all down on Don Beebe's effort on that play. Just, it feels a little like saying Brian Moorman is the Bills player of the 2000s or something to me. I just can't.
That's a good comp.
I used to get mad. I remember Ryan Gates when he was our producer, like Moorman, like, shut up. You're making fun of them. You're complimenting him, but you're making fun of the organization. If a punter is your favorite Bill of a decade, you just stop.
Yeah, it's a good comparison. How about Steve Christie's record field goal?
Sure,
in
that
Atlanta?
might be 5.
That's 5.
Yeah, that might be my 5th one. But Kavanaugh warming up is on my list. It's my list.
Well, your list is your list.
Right, that's what I mean.
So
Yeah, you're gonna have we have our own different list.
What's the best moment of the Washington game? What even is it? Was there an interception? Kirby Jackson in the end zone, maybe? Didn't he have an interception?
Honestly, I don't know. I don't know. Was there a replay review early?
There was a replay review.
Art Monk touchdown or something.
Maybe. And it went the Bills' way.
Yeah. Beebe scored late. I think that affected the total or the spread, maybe.
Okay.
I don't remember.
Metzelar's, a couple of, just sort of garbage time touchdowns.
I don't know. Oh.
There's nothing there.
Those 3 games, honestly, I also did not sit for the entirety of any of those 3 games with the game. The Washington game, I worked. The Art Monk review happened while I was still at the pizza place. I got out reasonably enough, but the game was pretty much decided by the time I sat down to watch it. The first Dallas game, I was saddled up for the start of it, and it just got so bad that I walked away from it eventually. I didn't know about the Leon Lett play. And then the last Dallas one, the fourth of the 4 Super Bowls in a row, I was delivery driving. After my shift, I opened the store that Sunday morning early, did all the prep work with a team of people, and I was supposed to get out at like 5, and be home in time to watch the game. I had a driver who I still know to this day. I know the guy. He owns a pizza place out in Clarence. Somebody else didn't come in, and I went to him and said, and he'd worked all day with me. And I said, dude, I'm gonna need you to stay. He's like, I can't stay. I'm like, you got to stay. He's like, I quit. And he just walked out. And I wasn't even mad at him. Like I admired it. I was like, all right. I walked back in and like, well, where'd Dickie go? I'm like, he quit. He's like, well, who's gonna drive? I'm like, I guess I am. So I just changed my clothes. I got in my car and I drove deliveries for the first half of that third Dallas Super Bowl. And then they were winning, and it was going great. And then I got to my friend's house to watch the second half, and Thurman fumbled, and then the world crumbled. And then
Atlanta.
And then we started talking about whether or not, this is really getting convoluted. Do I have time to squeeze this in? I had a car at that time that I had purchased that was way beyond my means after I moved back. I was in Connecticut, making decent money, running a couple restaurants. I bought this car. I loved this car. The loan was big. And I came home, I'm like, I got to get rid of this car. And we sort of jokingly, but we talked about it a lot. We should cover your car in Dallas flags and take it downtown. Just take it down to Allentown and just leave it and see what happens. Maybe it'll burn. Maybe somebody will light it on fire and you can collect insurance. We didn't do that, but it was an idea.
It was discussed.
It was an idea that was talked about.
It was brought up.
Yes.
Wow.
That was also, boy, I'm sorry.
One of these shows in the offseason, we have to do worst things we never did but thought of.
Right. That is also, I think this lines up date-wise, the very first time I ever heard the song Loser by Beck was walking into the Old Pink after that Super Bowl. Like, in my head, that song was playing as we walked in, and I'd never heard it before, and, the chorus of the song is pretty poignant in that moment. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Someone chose it.
What is this?
It wasn't on a loop, I hope.
I don't think so. That's not how I remember it.
Just the timing was such, you heard it as you walked in.
All right, let's take a break, because I got to stop, because one memory after the other is just like flicking. It's like a calendar is flying off the wall in a cartoon here. I got to stop.
I like this stuff. Paul Hamilton next. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.
living in sin so long, all the feels are gone. Fella stopped me on the street last night, said everything's alright. Roller coaster, make it through the day upright. It seems your meal ticket is gone, but life goes on. I could never imagine something better. Yeah, right. Now you're cooking on high heat in the middle of the street. Roller coaster, take me to a better time. Let's go. All sing your high line with the roller coaster of life. Yeah. It's time to all choose your timeline on the roller coaster of life. You seem to easily forget how to place your bet. When everyday life gets you down, you gotta steal the crown. Got to own it. Don't bitch and moan about it, please. God forbid you scrape your knees, and it's nothing to sneeze at. Oh, I've told you over and over again. You gotta get both hands around it and make your own plans. Roller coaster, it's taking over. It's about time.
Sports Update.
In just about 2 hours, the NFL honors will get underway, and we will find out if Josh Allen will win this league's MVP award. Bills also have 2 other finalists, safety Damar Hamlin for Comeback Player of the Year and offense coordinator Joe Brady for Assistant Coach of the Year. Again, this will begin at about 8 p.m. That's going to be over on Fox and the NFL Network. Following the awards being handed out at 9 p.m., the 2025 NFL Hall of Fame class will also be announced. It's going to be on the same channels and headlined by the likes of quarterback Eli Manning, wide receiver Steve Smith, tight end Antonio Gates, and linebacker Terrell Suggs, of course, among others. Some other notes in the NFL. Chicago Bears owner Virginia McCaskey died today at the age of 102. She is the daughter of team founder George Halas and has owned the team since his death in 1983. And then potentially some news to keep an eye on for Sunday. Eagles defensive tackle Jalen Carter dealing with an illness, and defensive coordinator Vic Fangio says he is hopeful the All-Pro tackle will be able to play on Sunday. And then in college hoops, Niagara Purple Eagles just outside of Boston tonight. They take on Merrimack. Tip-off scheduled for just after 7 p.m., and you can listen to that game right here on WGR. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet, celebrating 90 years of business. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Hamilton going to each other, and Sawinski fights into it.
We have the fight.
With Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
Snodcheck was just totaled by an Iowa State player against the board.
I think it was by Hamilton.
On WGR.
Really a pretty unnecessary hit by Hamilton. Hamilton is still awfully mad. He's being held back.
Number 17, Paul Hill. 2 minutes for charging, 5 minutes for fighting, and a misconduct.
Sports Radio 550.
This is why you love us. Well, this is why I love us. We're talking about kneel downs. It's that kind of show. How often does it happen? Just random thing. How often does a half in the NFL end on a kneel down? I threw out a number, 20%. You think it's higher than that? Bulldog's like, yes. How about 50%? Is it closer to 50%? What did you say?
40. I said 40. Closer to 50. Sure, 40 is closer to 50 than 20, so I said 40. Yeah.
I just went through every game this year. 20 games.
Just the Bills games.
Just
not the whole league. The commercial breaks aren't that long.
No. They seem like it, but they're not. Right. 20 games. 40 halves. 20 times.
All right.
That's why I love us. 20 out of 40. Exactly. Paul, isn't that 50%? 20 out of 40, that's 50%. Half the halves this year in Bills games.
I'm not sure how they're teaching math these days in schools, but I think that's still half.
I don't know how there's a certain way you're supposed to be able to show your work. That is, I'm lost.
Well, Brian Koziel's a math teacher, and I always defer to him. So
Yeah, Brian's my mathematician.
Mitchell Trubisky kneeled out games 7 times this year. That's a good season.
That is a good season. Yes, it is.
Including the Denver game in the playoffs. There were a few games where it happened in each half, including the last 2. The Ravens and the Chiefs games had kneel downs on the end of each half, and one more. The Houston game did not have a kneel down at the end of either half. It had a Houston field goal at the end of each half, last play. So there you go. Paul, just what you wanted to know. Or you already did know.
Aren't you glad you carved out this time for us, Paul? Thanks for being with us, Paul.
I am.
Paul's
It's great to be with you guys.
Brought to you by Paul. I'm wondering this came to my attention today. I read Elliot Friedman had a little bit of a blurb about what he's heard about what went on in the locker room meeting and the threat of the leadership core being stripped of A's or something. Did you notice guys not? Were there any assistant or alternate? What is it? Alternate captains on Tuesday night. Someone sent me the
There were not
the lineup. Okay, and Darlene had the little. I think there's usually that's represented on that lineup sheet that you get at every game. Darlene had the little C with in parentheses next to his name, and there were no A's there. Was that just the rotation because Thompson and Samuelson didn't play, or was that
what happens is Granato did this too. Coaches before Granato, if there was an A not dressed, they would put the A on somebody else.
Right.
And Granato never did. And now Lindy never did. He was asked about it and said, no, it's just they weren't dressed and we didn't put an A on somebody. He said it was no big deal. But he hasn't at other times either. And quite honestly, I haven't even picked up the rotation. I knew that there were two guys that wore them at home and two guys
away,
that wore them on the road.
Right, okay.
And then they were going to switch it after halfway through the season, and
right.
it was like, people have A's on their sweater. I didn't.
It
wasn't that important to me that I cared who wore it at home and who wore it on the road type of a thing.
Same here. Yeah.
And they could have, if two guys weren't dressed, you could have put the A's on the other guys who don't normally wear the A's at home, and it's like whatever.
Right. So it doesn't have to necessarily correlate to some sort of punishment because of what happened on Sunday, that they didn't have A's. Because it's happened, like you're saying, it's happened before.
Yes.
And maybe it makes sense. Thompson and Samuelson are the home A's. Is it Cousins and Tuck are the road A's? I know Tuck is one of them. I don't know about Cousins, I'm guessing.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. So, yeah, I don't know, man. Like, how shook up do you think they really were about the whole thing?
Yeah, and the thing is, what Elliot wrote, Elliot got it, second or third hand. My experience is, look at whoever the players were embarrassed enough that they were called out. That people know, everybody who's a fan knows who was on the ice. And it was an utter embarrassment to the players that were on the ice who did not respond. They're not going to, in the middle of a season, take an A or a C off somebody.
Right.
And embarrass them even more. As far as that goes, I'm just not buying that one. And as I said, Elliot did, and he said so, that, it was a player who talked to another player, and we're talking about second, third hand here. So I'm honestly not really buying it. I think there was enough embarrassment to go around just by not responding.
A player on another team who has a friend on Buffalo is how he worded it.
Right.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'm just imagining a scenario where, Kevin Adams is in there yelling at them, and they're sitting at their locker stalls like, oh my God, get me out of here.
Yeah,
absolutely. Right? Like that's what I'm sorry. I don't mean to be like, truancy needs to be punished, right? If these guys are being insubordinate, that'd be one. I just imagine them all sitting there like going, what are we doing? I mean, not to say it wasn't a serious thing. Like, it was embarrassing what happened, but I don't know, man. The meeting and any kind of a threat it's just, wow. It's just another piece of a dysfunctional looking puzzle, I think.
Yeah, no, it is. And it's just, I'm sure nobody would confirm it, but I would almost guarantee Kevin Adams was in there melting the paint off the wall. I mean, I was around after the Lucic thing. Buffalo went straight to Montreal for practice, and I was a pretty good ways down the hall from the Sabre locker room. and Darcy Regier was going absolutely out of his mind. He was screaming at the top of his lungs at those guys. So I have no doubt in my mind, even though I have no confirmation or nobody's told me anything, that Kevin Adams is right in the middle of all that, and I'm sure he was not happy.
Yeah, the embarrassment or sort of the stain of it does move throughout the organization. If you're coaching the team, how could you coach a team that doesn't do that? If you've built the roster, how could you build a roster that doesn't account for that?
Absolutely.
So sort of everybody can, is accountable for it. The Sabres, however, repaired the situation entirely by having a fight 3 seconds into the game on Tuesday against Columbus, and I feel like now all is good.
I look at this is absolutely nothing on Dennis Gilbert.
Right.
I have never doubted at any point that Dennis Gilbert is a good teammate. He will always stick up for a teammate. Has already done it. I have no doubts in my mind about Dennis Gilbert at all. So it's just, as a matter of fact, I even would talk about the good plays he made in that game. He had a great assist.
Yeah, great play on the second tuck goal.
He had a couple of
first
very key block shots. Yeah. I'd rather more talk about that. I'm just not a fan of staged fights. I don't mind a hockey fight.
Sure. Paul,
I'm all for it.
Lindy even said after the game he would have preferred it to be a meaningful fight, and I think doubled down on that the next day when he was on with Jeremy and Joe here on the station. Like similar. Yeah, I think it's a situation for me where two things can be true. Like I admire Gilbert for taking that on. You and I talked in the afternoon before the game, and I'm like, I hope nobody tries to do that because that could be bad. Because that guy's a killer. He's one of the toughest guys in the league.
He is.
And so, but so I admire him, but I still think I don't know. Like the players are what matter, I guess, more than how we feel out here. But I just felt like it reminded me, and I felt stupid. I told this to Mike off the air earlier, or I think maybe when we started the show with it. I felt stupid for not remembering Dalton Smith. I don't remember the scenario for why he was called up, but something like this happened in a game. The Sabres didn't, respond appropriately, and they called Dalton Smith up. He came up, played a minute 20, took a 2-minute penalty, and never played again.
Right.
And I felt like I should have been aware of that and expecting something like that on Tuesday night. It just doesn't. I don't know, man. It just doesn't do anything about what happened. What happened was in a moment, and you collectively turtled and ignored a situation that needed addressing in the moment. And so good on Gilbert for fighting a tough guy, but I don't know. It doesn't really change a damn thing in my view.
And I guarantee you, if Dennis Gilbert was on the ice when Thompson got hit, that whole thing would have been different. I guarantee it. And one thing I will tell you, too, there isn't one player in that locker room who doesn't respect Dennis Gilbert. I can tell you that. Even though Dennis only plays, 5-6 minutes in a game, they respect Dennis Gilbert. They think he's a good teammate, and they know he will be there. I mean, he took on Brady Tkachuk a couple of times when Brady Tkachuk thought that he could just take any liberty he wanted with the Sabres. He did it in Buffalo, and he did it in Ottawa. And Brady Tkachuk is no easy pushover either. So I can tell you unequivocally there is nobody on that roster who doesn't respect Dennis Gilbert and what he does for this team.
Paul Hamilton on the Wester Hotline. By the way, 4 wins in a row, which is kind of record stuff here lately, more than 2 years. Nashville isn't that good. Sabres have just beaten them recently, and that's the road game on Saturday, then 2 weeks. Is it crazy to think they could win this game and come back from the break? The break doesn't help or hurt me for this idea necessarily, and keep going.
Sure they could keep going. I mean, a lot of the pressure is off right now, from where you are, and I've seen this before where all of a sudden they get going at the end of a year when the pressure is off. But I don't want to belittle what they're doing.
Right.
In my opinion, they have played 7 pretty good games right in a row here. And the 2 they lost, they easily could have won. They were tied in both, going into the third. And, I people are going to get sick of me bringing this up, but I keep bringing it up. In the 2 losses, they had 151 shot attempts. You should win both hockey games when you have 151 shot attempts and only score 4 goals. They had golden opportunities that they messed up, but I thought overall they played well. They just didn't convert their opportunities in the 2 losses. So they're 5-2 ever since that Seattle game, where they did score 4 goals but still lost the game and I don't think played well. I think they've each game since then they've played well. So, Mike, I think absolutely they could, win that game in Nashville and then pick it up because the schedule coming out isn't like extremely hard. There are a couple of hard games in there. Carolina, if I'm not mistaken, is in there somewhere. But the Rangers are up and down. You don't know what you're going to get with the Rangers. And they did beat Carolina, but now this time they're going to have to go into Carolina, so that's going to be a tough task. But still, coming out, I could see them still playing well. And that's, somebody said to me, and I totally respect the point, that, well, what does winning right now do for them? I mean, and it's not necessarily winning. I think what they need to be doing right now is figuring out how to play well almost every night instead of every 8th game or 2 periods and then not doing it for 3 or 4 games or whatever. Because I believe that if you play the way Lindy Ruff has asked you to play, the results will take care of themselves. And I think we're seeing that in the last 7 games. They've been basically playing the way Lindy Ruff wants them to, and they got 5 wins and 2 losses, which isn't a bad record. So that's what I think is important right now, is getting some consistency in the way you play the game and the pride you play the game with, and moving forward with it. Do I think they have a chance at the playoffs? Well, if this winning streak, and I'm being serious here, gets to be about 10 to 15 in a row, yeah, they got a chance at the playoffs. Short of that, no, I don't think they do.
Yeah. I didn't see any evidence of practice today, so I'm imagining today was a day off.
It was.
Okay. Yes. So we won't know anything. I imagine they're flying tomorrow, right after practice to Nashville. So that'll be our clue about Thompson. Samuelson's on IR. And I guess Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, too. We can be on. And isn't Cousins injured now,
Cousins Lindy didn't really know. It was like he had a lower body complication, as he called it, and he said, we're going to have to see. He didn't really know what to say about it after practice the other day. It sounds like Luukkonen is going to be on the ice for practice tomorrow, the way Lindy was talking. And the way he talked about Greenway, he said the medical staff has put a certain timeline on him, which is the first game after the break. And they did that on purpose. He goes, if we were in a playoff series and he absolutely had to play, he'd probably be playing on Saturday. But he said, I'm going to trust the medical staff, and so it doesn't sound like Greenway is going to get a shot on Saturday, and he will be back when the break is over. But Cousins, he just really didn't know about. It was kind of a new thing, and he just didn't know what to say about it. I'm saying all. I don't want to degrade it. Thompson has to pass protocols. He skated on his own and apparently felt very good. Lindy said that he felt extremely good, actually, but he said he still has to pass the protocols and has time to do it. He had yesterday, today, tomorrow, until you get to the game on Saturday. So he could very well be at practice tomorrow if he has passed protocols, but it didn't seem like he was having any lingering effects. And he was sitting on the bench laughing and talking, during practice. So he was around. So it seems like it's possible we could see him practice and maybe even play on Saturday.
Did Ruff misspeak on Sunday after the game when he said Thompson, whatever the words were, like passing was fine?
No, because I can attest to this. Unfortunately, I have had 3 major concussions, and it doesn't necessarily happen right away. Mine actually happened more than a few days down the road. Our old sports director, Bob Gaughan, was like all of a sudden, like 3 or 4 days later, and I'm sitting there reading a story, and I read it 3 times in a row, and I argued with him. I said, no, I didn't. And he got the tape out, and he complained. He goes, yeah, you did.
Wow.
And it was 3 days later. So, unfortunately, I do have some experience at this. So you can feel great to start with, and then all of a sudden it can start coming on.
All right, Paul, any questions for us?
I did not prepare for questions. No, you haven't asked me that in a while, so I haven't been
Wonder
prepared for that.
Wonder why. Who wins the NFL MVP tonight?
I guess I have to. I believe it will be Lamar.
Okay.
I'm of the I'm of the opinion that I think Lamar has been the best player in the NFL, and I think Josh Allen has been the most valuable to his team.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's two different awards. You know, the Lamar won the AP award or whatever. Yeah, I think that's right. But if you're talking about the MVP, I think you're talking about the man most valuable to his team, and I think that would be Allen. And so I think you both could be winning awards for different reasons.
Yep, I think we could see that tonight too. Mm-hmm. Very good. Thanks, Paul.
Okay.
There you go. That's our Paul Hamilton on the Wester Hotline. His appearances here on WGR, brought to you by Equitable Advisors. Planning for your future is about more than just money. Let Equitable be your guide. And by Relax Honda. Relax, we got this.
Just want to slip in here how disgusted I am that Carl Yastrzemski never had 200 hits in a season. I mean, it just feels like a sitter. Immaculate Grid, Boston, 200 hits. Carl Yastrzemski. I don't want to pick Ted Williams.
3,000 for his career, right?
3,000.
And he'd never had 200 in a single year.
No.
Wow.
I can see the outrage in your face right now.
What a compiler.
Absolute compiler.
He ends up being tough.
Remember this if you ever play Immaculate Grid, and it's Boston and 200 hits. You can't use Yaz.
Right.
Come on, right?
Yeah, I'm relatively stunned by that.
Stunned.
Yeah.
I have to double check right now. No. 191, 183. People thought that was good. 189, 186. People thought that was good. Was he ever your guy?
Oh, yeah.
Because Williams is before your time. I know you love Williams.
Right. Really, Williams came about because of Yaz, to me. You know, like I learned about the handoff of the left field, and I went back. But Yaz, I used to imitate his batting stance, even though he batted lefty and I batted righty. Just he had this, right? Yeah.
Kind of still, though.
Yeah, right.
How do you hit left-handed?
I don't know. But yeah, he was, Polish last name, big time.
Where are the 200 hit seasons? Just one. Yeah. That's all I'm saying. Joe Ostrowski joined us earlier to preview the Super Bowl and also talk about the MVP and a little bit into next year as well. We'll have that for you next. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.
We know you can't hear every moment of Jeremy and Joe.
everything's alright. Roller coaster, make it through the day upright. It seems your meal ticket is gone, but life goes on. I could never imagine something better. Yeah, right. Now you're cooking on high heat in the middle of the street. Roller coaster, take me to a better time. Let's go. All sing your high line with the roller coaster of life. It's time to all choose your timeline on the roller coaster of life. Oh, you seem to easily forget how to place your bet. When everyday life gets you down, you gotta steal the crown. Got to own it. Don't bitch and moan about it, please. God forbid you scrape your knees, and it's nothing to sneeze at. Oh, I've told you over and over again. You gotta get both hands around it and make your own plans. Roller coaster, it's taking over. It's about time. Oh, all sing your high line on the roller coaster of life. You've got to all choose your timeline with the roller coaster of life. Roller coaster. I want to go down the rabbit hole, down the rabbit hole.
The Wester Hotline.
Joe,
What do you think, Joe?
have you ever drunk Jameson out of a boot?
I have not, but tomorrow you can ask Sam, and I guarantee the answer is a yes.
Okay,
There's no doubt about it.
I definitely believe that.
If we may, do you envy fans at the Phoenix Open or the Kentucky Derby, for that matter?
Every year.
Okay.
Every year. And I think I need to go, and I know it's never going to happen with the Phoenix Open because look at where we are with the calendar.
Right.
It's never happening because it's on Super Bowl week, which I hate.
last year was your year, right? Wasn't it in Phoenix? The Super Bowl was in Arizona last year.
There were people doing both.
That was the time to do it. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it was. I would definitely go, and I just like it because the atmosphere is the exact opposite of everything you see at every other golf tournament, right? And, there are prop bets on that too, by the way. The cross-sport props, how many hole-in-ones that you're going to see on that 16th hole over these 4 days versus, I think, the shortest touchdown, like which number is going to be higher, the shortest touchdown in the Super Bowl. But, yeah, those are a couple events that, as you guys were talking, I was thinking, okay, what sporting event do I need to go to that I always think about going to that I still haven't? It's an SEC football game for me.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's always been up high on my list, too.
So you've never gone?
No.
Yeah, same.
No.
Mine is the Australian Open. Really, it is.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Well, I just thought you picked Australia because of the NFL news.
No, it's always that's ours at home is the Australian Open because it's winter, right?
Yeah,
so there
yeah,
it's summer. It's
yeah.
just 2 weeks. You got to be loaded to go to the Australian Open.
Yeah, I'm just being honest. Like I certainly see the appeal. I've had my fun drinking all day when I was younger. That's why the part of this point is I got to be like half my age. I feel like right now if I went there, be like, this sounds great. This sounds great. This sounds great. I'd be there an hour. Be like, I got to get out of here.
Yeah.
What's the rest of the course look like? I can't. I don't know. The shirtless dudes. I don't know. It just would. This is not my scene.
Probably good.
No, I get it. Like last year, took an adults-only vacation to Mexico. It was somebody's birthday they were celebrating, and we just went hard. Like we were 21 again. Mm-hmm. And at the end, I was dead. I was just done for. So imagine
how many days was
that?
that?
That was a few days.
Okay.
It's like, and well, the last day nobody drank. It was like, it's a pool day. We need to sober up.
Right. It's probably great as long as you can remember it.
Right.
Yeah.
Quick one here on this note. Adults vacation. We went to Spain last summer, Joe, and it's like 7 or 8 couples, and a part of it, a couple days in Barcelona, then we're up in the mountains at a winery, and we had the whole place to ourselves. And so, wine, beer, it just, the first night we're there is like the sun comes up, right? I mean, it's just like we went hard,
Yes.
right? Saturday is like, okay, regroup, but kind of right back at it. Eventually you're just like, okay, let's go. By Sunday, my wife and I took a drive by ourselves. We went out for dinner, and while we're sitting at the restaurant, I said to her, I swear to God, she'll vouch for me. I said, how bad is it that I'm considering faking a heart attack just to get in a bed? Like get an ambulance to come get me and get me out of here because I want to die right now.
Not fatal.
No, just
not a fatal heart attack.
I want to fake it just so an ambulance comes. I get, okay, I'm on a stretcher. This is way better than sitting here drinking with you again.
Wow, That's bad.
Yeah.
That was a question, right? How bad?
It's pretty bad.
Pretty bad.
All right, anyway, we're going to move on now. Sorry.
All right, Joe. Well, speaking of big events, the big game here on Sunday, you guys have been talking about it, you and Sam, all the time, of course. What have you settled on?
Is it here yet? Jeez.
One more day for us.
Come on, man. Please. I'm just dying. All right. As far as the game, I know everybody wants to pick on the game. I can't sit here and say that I have a super strong opinion. Now, I have a lean. I'll have a bet on it, of course, because it's a Super Bowl. But more so into the props. But I hear a lot of Chiefs and a lot of over, which I understand. Yeah, I do understand what people are saying. I'm not saying these are sharp people. I'm just saying everywhere you look, everywhere you consume picks and media and all that stuff. And I am opposite on both.
Me too.
I'm Eagles and I'm under. People keep referencing the Super Bowl from 2 years ago. These are very different teams, different coaches. I mean, Vic Fangio has changed how much? It's as much of a reason as anything that they're in this spot. But, yeah, I mean, people have gone over it a million times, and I agree with everything they're saying about you can make the case that the Eagles have the advantage or at least a slight advantage everywhere on the football field except for the quarterback and the head coach. And we've probably had that conversation many, many times before. But, no, I'm on the Eagles, and I think it's going to be a fascinating game. It's probably going to be a one-possession game, which is scary, as the Chiefs have now won 17 straight one-possession games. It's going to end at some point here. An NFL record, but I'm also on the under. People remember the record-setting day that was Championship Sunday with all those points in both of those games and the overs hitting in the divisional round. But, man, that's going to be one hell of a matchup, the one between the defensive coordinators, and I don't think that one's getting enough love.
I swear to God, if the Chiefs get a break with this Carter being sick, I am going to lose my mind.
Jesus.
Like if we get to Sunday and I've got Jay Glazer on Fox saying he's puking or something and he's still in the team hotel, like
Yeah, I know. At least it feels like we're far out, even though we're really not.
Yeah.
And I hope there's enough time and it doesn't spread too far. But, yeah, you're talking to someone that a couple weeks ago decided to grab the $650 to $1 Jalen Carter Super Bowl MVP ticket.
Let's go.
So I really hope.
Maybe there's a dip. Maybe there's a dip today.
Oh, yeah. I don't think it's going that far again.
I'm with you on this game. I see the Bucs game when thinking of the Chiefs here, where maybe Philadelphia is just too much up front. Kansas City, like, tackles and just not interior, but on the edges, they're kind of vulnerable. And I love that for Philadelphia. I also think, I don't know, this is probably going too far, but if they get a lead, forget it. I think, Kansas City has not been a team this year that can rack up points. So, I like your point about the recency bias, Joe, because maybe we forgot here in the playoffs what kind of year it was for the Chiefs.
Yeah, and I actually think it's a good point about that Eagles front, and I kind of think the middle is going to be soft because it looks like they're going to keep Tooney at left tackle. And since they moved Mike Caliendo inside, I mean, if you look at their PFF grade, the Chiefs, they go from 91 down to 64, and that was with a couple weeks left in the regular season. So you think about Jalen Carter, if healthy, matched up against Caliendo, you would think that he's going to have a big game. Another thing that has really just annoyed the hell out of me, and I just get bothered every time I hear it. Vic Fangio's 0-8 against Patrick Mahomes. It is so stupid. It is an 8-game sample, and 6 of those with Denver, 2 with Miami. This defense is much better.
Yeah.
In those 8 games, the offense that was on Vic Fangio's team averaged 11.9 points per game against Kansas City. Right. In those 8 games, the Chiefs scored 6 defensive or special teams touchdowns. It is just a dumb and you look at it, guys, 8 games, Mahomes had 10 passing touchdowns. Is that owning Vic Fangio? 233 average on the yards. Is that owning Vic Fangio? That's really bothered me over the last couple of weeks. Sorry.
I know you like Devontae Smith here. I'm seeing a lot of that. I watch you, so maybe that's why. But I'm seeing a lot of Devontae Smith in this matchup. Talk us into that.
Okay, so I hadn't heard much of that at all over the last couple of weeks, and we had Paul Charchian on the show today, and I thought he brought up a few really good points. And I'm looking for different points of view on this game because as you put out like 30 hours of content on it, you end up repeating the same thing, and then sometimes you run into some groupthink, which is always a little dangerous, especially on the sports betting side of things. But Paul Charchian's favorite prop bet was on Devontae Smith, which I found really interesting because there's so much chatter about Saquon and Goddard, who I'm a fan of in this matchup going against the Chiefs. Terrible against tight end all year. And then A.J. Brown has the big NFC Championship game, so people are on that. They're saying over 70.5. And nobody's been really bringing up Devontae Smith. And Charch went on and on about how much he lines up in the slot, how that is the weak spot of the Chiefs defense. And, you know, thinking about how nobody's really talking about him, I think that's a really strong angle. And you're getting a bit of a bargain on the number. 4.5 receptions, 49.5 receiving yards. I think that's a pretty good look by Charch, and he talked us into that one on the show today.
I want to pick Philadelphia to win comfortably, and I was looking at the alt lines at Bet Sweats is the new name of his show. That'll be next here on WGR.
We've been living in sin so long, all the fields are gone. Fella stopped me on the street last night, said everything's alright. Roller coaster, make it through the day upright. It seems your meal ticket is gone, but life goes on. I could never imagine something better. Yeah, right. Now you're cooking on high heat in the middle of the street. Roller coaster, take me to a better time. Let's go. All sing your high line with the roller coaster of life. Yeah. It's time to all choose your timeline on the roller coaster of life. Oh, you seem to easily forget how to place your bet. When everyday life gets you down, you gotta steal the crown. Got to own it. Don't bitch and moan about it, please. God forbid you scrape your knees, and it's nothing to sneeze at. Oh, I've told you over and over again. You gotta get both hands around it and make your own plans. Roller coaster, it's taking over. It's a about time. Oh, sing your high line on the roller coaster of life. You've got to all choose your timeline with the roller coaster of life. Roller coaster. I want to go down the rabbit hole, down the rabbit hole of life.
At MGM, where minus 9.5, 10.5, 11.5, 12.5, they're all kind of the same price. And I thought of you because you might tell me, I'm asking you, if I want to, so the key numbers, right? Is that where I want to be, or do I want to, is 12.5 meaningfully, better to play than 10.5 or something?
Yeah, well, some of the key numbers have changed, especially if you look at this season. And, it's still 3 and still 7. Those are the first two big ones. I think most people understand why. But now with the 2-point conversions. But you look at these two teams, the Chiefs don't do that a lot. They don't. Not super aggressive as far as that goes. Andy Reid's fine taking 3 points. He's fine going for the extra point. So I wonder how much into play that's going to be. And you said 10, 11,
12. I mean,
they're all in the same number?
Plus 400, plus 450.
Yeah, okay. Certainly the 10.5, I find kind of like, I think 21-10 if you're thinking a lower scoring game. 3, 7, 10, those are popular. 4, I understand why. 11 or the 8 and the 3 getting to 11. So if 10.5 is close to 11.5, I'm fine laying the 10.5. But that's an interesting one that I don't think a ton of people are talking about. They just can't envision the Chiefs getting blown out in this game. I think it is. It is very possible.
I think the Chiefs want to protect that one-score game thing, and will give up a couple of cheapies late if they're
I got
losing.
a pretty nice price in the AFC Championship game, putting the Bills at, I think, minus 6.5. And, you know how that ended.
There's a reason
right,
why these apps are so successful.
Yeah, they maybe know what they're doing a little bit.
Awards night, Joe.
It is.
MVP, is there drama for you?
I think there is.
I do too.
Yeah, I think there are a number of awards that we can hit on that the voting is going to be much closer than most years. There are a few that seem to be done, but as far as the MVP, if you're asking for a prediction, I would say yes, I believe Josh Allen gets it, but Lamar Jackson's going to get some love. He got the All-Pro love, and he's going to get love in this spot as well, and then there will be some that say, hey, that's too many at this point, and Josh Allen is pretty close. I've seen some make the case that, last year should have been Josh Allen, and they give it to Lamar, and then this year maybe it should be Lamar, and they're going to give it to Josh Allen, and in the end it ends up being a wash. Each of them get one, and they each probably deserve one. But I do expect it to be Josh Allen in a very close vote.
Okay. Coach of the Year, O'Connell?
I think so, and he's the heavy favorite, but I expect if I'm voting, this is my toughest award. Because we could sit here and make a strong case for Campbell, for Quinn, for Andy Reid, maybe Harbaugh, maybe even Sean Payton doing more than people expected him to do with the Denver Broncos and Bo Nix's first year. But, yeah, what O'Connell did, remember, they were supposed to be the fourth-place team in that division coming into the year. And what he ended up doing with Sam Darnold, that idea was thrown around in the summer, and it was kind of laughed at by some people. And look at what ends up happening. They were supposed to have an impossible schedule at the beginning of the year, and to do this, at least in the regular season, in the most challenging division, I mean, they were ousted quickly, all those teams in the playoffs. But, yeah, the NFC North is pretty deep, pretty tough. I do expect it to be O'Connell, and I don't know if it's quarterback will get the comeback. I don't think that's going to happen. I'm expecting the comeback player to go to Joe Burrow. He ended up closing as a big favorite. There was some real value, guys, even midway through the year. Like Burrow was around 5-1. And, there are going to be people that just shy away because they're not rules, but the guidelines that were set as far as Darnold, since he's not coming back from an injury.
Right.
So I expect that to be Burrow, O'Connell for coach.
And the Bengals, I think, were 4-8. Maybe that's why the price was that. Yeah, Darnold's going to suffer from the Geno Smith reality when he came back from being bad.
Right, that's it.
And they decided to tweak.
And
Flacco, right. Came back from just not playing.
Right.
Whatever that was. Can you bet on anything for 2025 yet?
Most sports books have not posted anything yet. There are a couple of offshore sites. A lot of that is going to be out late on Sunday night and then on Monday morning. But I'm sure you can find stuff on Monday that will be available. But I'm sure we can all sit here and take some guesses about which teams are going to be at the very top.
Buffalo or Baltimore? Baltimore the second choice in the AFC?
Man.
Close. Right?
Yeah.
Tied even, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, possibly. I think they'd lean Buffalo knowing that Buffalo's going to take on more money.
Do you have a value bet in mind, or you're so immersed in this game here? I know, maybe not, but I wonder if there's a team that will be slept on early, that probably an NFC team for this, that could be good value early.
I do see one offshore spot that does have it, and of course the Chiefs are the favorite. They put the Ravens second, but I mean we're talking splitting hairs. Plus 550 for KC, plus 650 for Baltimore, plus 700 for you guys, and then the Eagles come in. So 3 AFC teams, and then 4 NFC teams: Philly, Detroit, San Francisco, and Washington. The Niners and Commanders have the same odds at 14-1. Just looking for a little bit of value, you would have to consider the Bengals 18-1. I'd say there's a little bit of value there, even though they have these slow starts every single year. Can you figure out something with the defense, guys? You know, the Chargers, I don't expect them to take a step backwards, guys. So they're another dangerous team. Harbaugh's starting to get his players in. They're 25-1 on this specific
I like that.
book.
I like that.
I like that Washington number. Like they have a ton of cap room, and if they could get Myles Garrett, they could get Cooper Kupp, they could get anybody they want with the cap room they've got. And if they can win some of that stuff, man, their number could jump really big by the time we get to like June even.
And they'll win the division because nobody wins the NFC East 2 years in a row.
Right.
So it can't be Philadelphia. Rule that out right now.
Yeah, of the teams that have the cap space, Bulldog, I mean, come on. Patriots, Raiders, Cardinals. The Chargers and Commanders are the ones that are up there. That could do something.
Joe, what a pleasure it's been to have you on every week through another football season. Good luck Sunday, and anything we can do for you, let us know.
Same to you.
We've been living in sin so long, all the fields are gone. Fella stopped me on the street last night, said everything's alright. Roller coaster, make it through the day upright. It seems your meal ticket is gone, but life goes on. I could never imagine something better. Yeah, right. Now you're cooking on high heat in the middle of the street. Roller coaster, take me to a better time. Let's go. All sing your high line with the roller coaster of life. Yeah. It's time to all choose your timeline on the roller coaster of life. You seem to easily forget how to place your bet. When everyday life gets you down, you gotta steal the crown. Got to own it. Don't bitch and moan about it, please. God forbid you scrape gonna sneeze at. Oh, I've told you over and over again. You gotta get both hands around it and make your own plans. Roller coaster, it's taking over. It's about time.